You are about to opt in to Monerotopia, a show for the Monero community where all are welcome to join. From noob to maxi, no matter what bags you hold. Just sit back and relax to the sweet sounds of Monero's latest progress. Or if you're feeling inspired, join us on stage. Remember, the only thing that can stop Monero is a false belief that it can be stopped. And if you want to win the revolution faster, we recommend you remove your XMR from all custodial exchanges immediately. Warning, voting accidents are common around here. Don't forget to properly secure your private keys. Monerotopia starts now.
All right. What's going on, Tux?
Good morning.
How you doing?
I'm doing all right. Busy week as usual.
Yeah, what do you got going on?
More tech projects.
Yeah, what kind of stuff? Anything new?
Setting up a firewall.
Okay.
For the network.
Oh, well, it seems like we made a little bit of a breakthrough with XMR Bazaar, right? I mean, we could talk about it a little bit. Yeah. You want to talk about it just a little bit?
Yeah, so we have an implementation of a multi-sig escrow, basically, that can be used for a buyer, seller, and mediator, and it can be used as fees going to mediator at the end of the transaction. Still needs to be rigorously tested, but we have an implementation. So
awesome. And we think it works. Have you tested it out? Were you able to mess around?
I have not tested it fully out yet.
Yeah, this is very fresh news, right?
Very fresh.
Anarchio just finished this like yesterday, and now we're gonna test it out. But the ultimate goal is XMR Bazaar will be similar to like a Monero market. There'll be some changes. One of the big differences will be that the escrow will be based on multisig between the buyer, the seller, and the third signer will be a mediator. So that should be cool. Kind of makes it more trustless. The platform is never holding Monero as the third party between the transactions. We think
completely non-custodial.
Completely non-custodial. Yeah. So we're very excited about that. We still got a decent way to go, but that was kind of the heavy lifting, right? That was the big breakthrough. If it does in fact work. And obviously everything will be open source and all that jazz, but we're still working on things. All right, man. That was kind of the big news this week in my terms, in my world. I was paying attention to that, but I know there's a lot going on in the broader ecosystem. But yeah, big show today. Let's get it started so we can cram everything in. As usual, we'll start with the price report.
Let's do it.
The Monerotopia Price Report segment is sponsored by Local Monero. Avoid using KYC exchanges. Buy and sell Monero directly for fiat, peer-to-peer.
Hey, what's up, guys?
Hey, Bawdy, how's it going, man?
Bawdy. I don't see a charts video.
Oh, that's a good point. I thought that I'd...
Oh, shit.
2 seconds here. How about now?
Got it.
Bam.
Cool. Sorry about
How's
that.
it going?
That's good. How about yourself?
It's going.
Lately,
was it a crazy week this week, Bawdy? I haven't really been paying much attention.
No, none of these weeks seem to be crazy. It's like we get one crazy week a month, maybe one crazy week every 2 months, and then things just kind of bleed out. It's been the pattern here for the last
We love our stable coin.
Yeah. Let's see. I guess we could start with Monero. Yeah, so you can see that just kind of slightly going down. Had a nice big pump, and then currently sitting about 7% down from there. Yeah, we honestly, I'm not really sure what to make of this price action. I'm not sure which side of it I want to be on. I'm afraid of missing out if it pumps. I'll be sad, if it drops and be like, oh, I should have known better. The signs were there. So I guess maybe we'll start with macro. Actually, that's probably a better place to look because I guess a few different things have happened. Let's see this week. Oh, one of the interesting things that happened is Standard and Poor's. So the S&P downgraded Moody's. Or sorry, let me rephrase that. The S&P 500, which is like Standard and Poor's, they downgraded the U.S. debt from AAA to AA, and that's only happened like one other time. That was in 2011, and I think is it Moody's had downgraded the U.S. debt, and then and then the United States government started investigating them over like supposedly unrelated things, but it was probably connected. These are the rating agencies that failed to properly rate all of the debt in 2008 from like 2006 to 2008, all the housing debt. So anyways, yeah, that was interesting. That hasn't happened for over a decade. The US debt hasn't been downgraded. But what's weird is that the dollar index, like it didn't seem to care. It just kind of jumped back up. In my mind, like everything that we've been talking about for the past few months is still basically on the table here, with the potential for this reversal that we talked about in the dollar. When this happened, I guess they even faked me out. I was like, wow, I was kind of expecting to get into this area here, eventually break to the upside. But then things crashed down so hard. But this really just kind of looks like this area right here just looks kind of like a fake out now. So the dollar index is showing some strength again. It's basically back inside of this zone where you say, hey, a bottoming pattern could be happening. That doesn't have to happen right away. Again, that could wait until September. It could wait until October. For a long time, for like maybe it was March or April, May, whenever the announcement that the BRICS meeting was going to happen in August. In my mind, I looked at that and I said, yeah, that sounds socially, like a good place to maybe look for a top in the markets and a kind of reversal. There's kind of like a little bit of a fight going on between some of the more prominent like some of the guys that called the bear market. There's like maybe a handful of them. And right now, none of them, they don't really agree on exactly where the markets are going to go. Some people are saying, there's a recession coming end of year, maybe early next year, markets are going to go down. Some people are still calling for Bitcoin 11K. I don't think we would make it that far, but if we had like a true crash of the market, that would probably actually happen. But then there's other people that are saying, up, the direction is up, and this is just, slow turning until we get there. So, let's see here. Right on the macro, we can look at stuff like rates. We can look at things like the 10-year yield. Basically, this thing was ready to pop off to the top side after it broke there, kind of tested that, and then started coming up again. Like this moment right here is when, like, if I don't really trade any of these yield spreads or anything, but if you were a trader in that regard, you would have looked at this and said, okay, that was a retest and you're going to get some upward action here. So that's a 10-year yield. We've got crude oil. It's a bit weird. Yeah, this chart is weird now because if you look at it on log scale, which I think you pretty much should, it screws you up because oil went negative in the whole 2020 crash. Oil actually went negative.
That was classic.
Yeah, like the US dollar. I was reminded of that Rick and Morty episode where he's like, watch kids as his grandpa collapses an empire by changing a 1 to a 0. And it was like their single centralized currency was worth 0 of itself, where it used to be worth 1 of itself. That's kind of what I thought here about the dollar and oil. Okay, but anyways, let's go back to logarithmic here. So yeah, oil is basically staying stable, which again is, kind of the thing you want to see. But it does have these upward price pressures now. Like it sort of formed support here at really what's like a very long-term kind of support line, topped out there. So right now, I guess oil looks like it's going to be back in this kind of triangle range. But at this moment, to me, the direction is up. Like oil should continue to explore this range here. And that, that would kind of signal that higher prices could still be on the way. In my mind, that does kind of signal the potential for inflation to continue being a bit sticky. Maybe it won't be at 10%, but it could be sticky at 4%, 3%, at least the core inflation. We've got the overnight repurchase agreements here. This is, again, money parked with the Fed overnight. They get an interest rate for doing so. They basically get the federal funds rate minus, I think it's 0.1%. Yeah, so it's basically like free yield with like highly liquid free yield, essentially. low risk, quote unquote. If you believe that the dollar is fine, and for now, I think the dollar is probably fine. Anyways, kind of looking at the wave magic stuff, we're looking at sort of these long-term bands that are coming up from. Again, this was the bear market as people started parking money with the Fed overnight. They were looking for safety. So we have a bunch of long-term standard deviation bands that are essentially rising now from that event. However, we do kind of seem to be getting pretty close to what I would expect is a support area. So at the moment, we sort of like this drop right here of the overnight repurchase agreements was kind of a signal, at least for more stock market gains. The crypto market didn't seem to be able to do much in that regard. Right now, it does look like it's encountering some kind of support. I don't know if necessarily you would say anything back here. This could just be more like fundamental institutions deciding that they don't want to be hanging out. This was institutions wanting to get in on the action for the stock market, and this right here is institutions looking like they're probably a little bit nervous about whether or not the stock market can continue going up. Let's look at Bitcoin plus Ethereum market cap. I do think this is probably the more complete way to look at the picture at this moment, and probably from here on out. So, you can see we kind of have like this big broadening structure, and prices probably going to try and touch this area right here. Hell, price might even try and touch this area down here. Like I said, I'm not convinced one way or the other. It would be totally unsurprising for like a long bleed out like this happened and then was followed by a big pump. It would be unsurprising to see another pump back up here to the top. I really don't trust this market, guys. Like at this point, I feel like, okay, if we really were supposed to have strength, like if this thing was ready to go up and there was all this buying action and everyone's excited and the ETFs and whatever, like this right here should have been follow through, at least to, to this zone up here. I just don't like that it didn't follow through, and it's done that twice now. Like we had this, which was kind of like a little bit of BART pattern, bled out for a long time. We didn't even barely get to the top of that right there. That's getting kind of messy. We didn't even get to the top of this right here on this pump, like just barely for a moment. But that was just another fake out, right? Boom, and then back down. I really don't like the way this market looks. I am like for the last couple of weeks, I have been considering whether or not I want to just like drop all my positions entirely, even my hodl, because it does seem to me like, yeah, I mean, it does seem like my Monero hodl will always stay in play. I held that through this whole bear market. Why would I sell it now? But all my other stuff that I call hodl, or long-term trading stack or whatever, I would be pretty tempted, or I am becoming more and more tempted to get out of that. I would hate to like recommend that for anyone, and then the market pumps. Like personally, I would be comfortable with it. Be like, all right, the market pumped, I was wrong. But at least I stayed safe and I kept my gains. I can re-enter the market at some other point, whatever.
How about the BTC halvening though, right? I think I saw Adam Back even tweeting about it. He's calling for like 100K Bitcoin by whatever, in order to keep up with the halvening. What's your take on that?
I think it's important socially. I don't think that the reduction in issuance is really all that big a deal. Like it is still important. It's like fundamentally, it will still be important this cycle. I think this is the last time it will be important. After this cycle, the reduction in issuance will be so low. It does seem like the miners are operating at a loss right now, and they need Bitcoin. Adam, I think I read Adam Back's tweet or he replied to a tweet. Someone said it was 98,000, that they needed like a $98,000 Bitcoin.
Yeah.
And then he was like, no, it's only 60,000 or 58. It's like, oh, okay. So just a 2x from here. By the halvening, I guess. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think that it's important. It's more important socially than anything. It's a good narrative. People like it. It highlights the 4-year cycle, which can become self-fulfilling. But I don't think that I necessarily am like, okay, you got to be buying into the halvening. I still see kind of rocky times ahead. I still think that it's very likely that Bitcoin and the rest of cryptocurrency is going to take another look somewhere down here at the bottom. It doesn't have to be like the absolute bottom. It doesn't have to be 15,000. It could be 20K, right? This could be that moment where 20K is like solid in people's minds, because everyone's like, well, the halvening's coming up next year. We're finally in Q2, or sorry, we're in Q3, so we're in the second half of this year now, and we've got all the FOMO with the ETFs. So, this might be worth mentioning. It seems to me that Binance is up against the ropes here. CZ is now trash talking, or as close as he can, trash talking Tether. And I think we even had the DOJ, and I didn't verify this story. I apologize. I should have verified it ahead of time. But I read that the DOJ said that they would like to prosecute CZ like criminally, but they're afraid of what that would do to people's bags. Essentially, they don't want to be responsible for the consequences of people's losses and causing a run on Binance, like a run on FTX happened, which is kind of like signaling that they think that Binance is fractionally reserved. Because if Binance had everything that they said they have, then it would be a matter of, okay, they have it on their exchange, everyone withdraws their assets, but they're still, otherwise solvent. So I don't know if that's true or not, but that's fundamentally negative. Like that's a negative. Binance going down and CZ going down would be fundamentally negative for crypto, and that would be like heavy short-term negative. On the other hand, like we do have BlackRock and Fidelity and all these guys putting in for ETF. It does look like the SEC is. I think the SEC is going to end up looking like the bad guy here. To me, it looks a little bit more and more like that's the direction things are heading. I think it's likely that these ETFs will eventually get approved. It doesn't have to be soon, but it could be in a few months, could be next year. So those are like fundamentally bullish events. I think ultimately they'll balance out, even if Binance does go down. And we also have the Gox coin, of course, being released here. And supposedly, I think it's October 31st. Maybe it was September 31st. So it's kind of like there's some good stuff on the horizon. There's some bad stuff on the horizon. But overall, like I do think that it's likely that, like for example, this big rising wedge we talked about, I do think it's likely this rising wedge is going to break down at some point. Could be soon, right? We could come here. That's probably will be like my real like ultimate criteria to determine if I'm going to exit my long-term positions in everything except for my Monero hodl, is if we start getting into this zone right here, and then that starts breaking down. Any move below this line to me is like I'm just gonna panic dump. I'll be like, nope, I don't care. Like maybe I'm wrong and maybe it's a fake out, whatever. What I would prefer, what I would really love to see is a fake out to the upside. I would love to see this thing kind of come up here, 32, get to 35, fizzle, and then maybe come down. Because I probably will sell this. I'll probably sell a lot if we get to that spot right there. I just don't believe that these markets have significant strength to really continue going very much longer. Same thing with the stocks. Like stocks have a very similar feel to them. They've kind of gotten pretty far ahead of themselves, if you ask me. And I do think that there's a pretty big opportunity that this probably potentially could be a top in stocks. It's very dangerous to call tops in stocks because stocks tend to just keep going up and up and up, except for like once every decade, some major crazy washout happens for a moment. So I guess we'll just end here with XMR. We'll take a quick look at XMR. We looked at the daily here on XMR USD. We talked about last week that these lines down here, these long-term uptrend lines are just kind of begging to be touched. So we'll probably, it looks like we've already hit that one. It looks like we're well on our way to hitting this one. With this kind of crap that happens, breakdown of these lines doesn't spell doom necessarily for the XMR USD price. In fact, the way this looks and the way the rest of the market is setting up, either the whole market needs to pump to push up XMR with it, or this line is definitely going to break down if the market decides to break down. So there's that. We've got the ratio on Bitcoin still kind of just chilling out here. Again, forming a bottoming pattern. This again, bottoming patterns like this could take a long time. This could range around here. It could take time before that actually happens. I would again hope that the Gox coin could drive some significant market cap into Monero. We've got this weekly, very long term inverse head and shoulders. Still looks fine. Doesn't look like it's breaking down at all. And if we're looking at the potential for a pullback in the markets, a revisit of the lows, something like that, maybe a recession scare towards the end of the year, maybe not like a full blown, complete recession, but could be like a recession scare. It wouldn't be surprising to see again, if the bull market kind of pops up again for a period of time, that Monero shows some strength again. So yeah, this is still continuing to develop. This will take a long time. We'll just kind of keep an eye on it once a week. We'll only have one candle, obviously, every week here. So we'll just keep an eye on that. Again, we'll take a few months. Could take all the way to 2024 to really develop. There was one thing I did kind of want to point out that I'm seeing here. Sorry to skip from Monero to Ethereum. This is Ethereum versus BTC. And to me, this looks pretty clearly like a falling wedge. So again, like I really do think that Ethereum is going to outperform Bitcoin next cycle. It's just got all the degeneracy stuff that people love, and it's building all of this crazy DeFi and quote unquote layer 2, most of which is just kind of like, it's not necessarily I mean, it's transactions happening off chain, but you're going to end up having to put a lot of trust with Coinbase or whoever's managing the quote unquote layer 2. There are real layer 2s though on Ethereum, so don't let that stop you. Anything Bitcoin can do, Ethereum can also do, because it's a generalized, it has a Turing complete base layer. So any construction Bitcoin can make, Ethereum can also make. They also have their own Lightning network. It's called Plasma. Anyways, this is kind of a long-term structure. It could just like sit here and range for a while, go down. At some point, this is probably going to break to the upside. Maybe after some like washout, some big washout is done. So divergences seem to have been slightly on the positive end here for the past week. For the most part, slightly positive. And I guess that's about all we have this week. Yeah.
All right, man. Yeah, I don't know. That's pretty crazy though with the halving. So you think there is a very real scenario where Bitcoin just doesn't keep up like it historically has in terms of what the price needs to be to sustain the mining network?
I think like long term for the next bull market, it could keep up. But one thing that we have seen, like we already see that price and sorry, let me rephrase this. Transaction fees are not replacing block rewards. As the block rewards have been dropping, transaction fees have not been replacing that. So it wouldn't be surprising to expect that Bitcoin price would not necessarily keep up with the mining. It has been weird to me to watch this explosion of hash power happen on BTC and price doesn't keep up. And these guys are all mining at a loss. Like that is kind of weird. Maybe these guys know something I don't. But I'm not convinced. Like I'm not convinced about Bitcoin's long-term security budget. So why would I be convinced about the halving and Bitcoin's price keeping up with the halving?
I mean, people can only put so much market cap into it, right? Like, I mean, it can only go so high in terms of the amount of money that's in Bitcoin.
Yes and no. So there's kind of these. It's really easy to be confused on this because of a lot of the stuff that we see on Twitter. You'll see a lot of Bitcoin maximalists talk about the market cap of global wealth, and that's a totally different thing than the market cap and the supply and demand for money. So like into even treasuries, that's like the supply and demand for money, and that's much smaller than the supply or than the market cap of global wealth, because people don't sell their houses but once every few years or once every decade or once every 50 years. So you don't necessarily need money to represent that house. You just need enough money to facilitate the exchange and the demand for exchange of goods that are out there. And a lot of goods are illiquid and they don't get sold very often. So Bitcoin's market cap, like, I mean, it could legitimately hit $10 trillion, I think, by the end of the decade. Like that's legitimately possible. Could happen. That would be what, a 10x. So $500,000. Bitcoin could probably hit $500,000 by 2030. That would probably be some kind of blow off top, at the end of the decade here. So Bitcoin could have a significantly larger market cap. That's possible. It could take time to get there. I do think that it has a lot of competitors. I think that we saw this bear market, Bitcoin below 50% dominance for the entire time. It just barely got back to 50. I'm not even sure that it will be able to hold that. And again, like with the security budget, yes, Bitcoin can go pretty high, but I'm just not convinced that fundamentally the network is designed in a way that will send it to like astronomical market caps. I think it's hit diminishing returns already.
There we have it. Bawdy. Doom and gloom for Bitcoin now.
Yeah, I mean the picture doesn't look good right now. So
I mean, do you think there's everybody throws around this potential scenario of like a death spiral, right? In the scenario where Bitcoin price doesn't go high enough to meet the halving, miners have to start unplugging, right? Do you think that that's a potential scenario, or that's just like never going to happen?
I don't know. I don't like to be outlandishly, outlandish with my language.
Don't be too doom and gloom.
Yeah, death spiral. Probably not a death spiral. I think that what will happen is, so if anyone's read the block value attack, there's a paper called Block Value Attack where Essentially, one block, because as the block rewards drop, you have fees that are very high. So one block might have a bunch of fees, and then the next block might have really low fees, which would incentivize miners individually. They don't have to coordinate, would incentivize them to keep mining on the old block, but then keep some of the rewards for the next miner ahead of them to incentivize the rest of the network to orphan that block. I think that we'll start to see weird instability with Bitcoin's mining system before you have any kind of major death spiral blowout. At the same time, I see all this hash power that is completely unprofitable for the meantime. And then you got the halving coming up. And I do worry, like, I think to because I mean, I don't want Bitcoin to collapse. Like, all right, like, yes, I fight the maxis a lot on Twitter or whatever, but I don't really want Bitcoin to collapse. But I do see all this hash power, and most of the gains that they've had, like in their silicon from getting, because the ASICs were originally on like old technology, old silicon, easy to fabricate. And now they're on like the cutting edge shit, right? They're on like 5 nanometer or wherever we're at. So all of this excess hash power, what happens if like Ethereum flips maybe, or Bitcoin has some kind of problem, or the price doesn't go as high as everyone like praised that it will go? Then you've got all this excess hash power. You've got all these people that can't continue their mining setup. You've got all these ASICs just floating around in the ecosystem. And what can these miners do with them to be profitable other than try and sell them or attack the network? I don't see all this excess hash
lead
power.
to centralization. You only have a few big players that could subsidize and sustain themselves, right? I mean, that's what I would think would happen, right? You would just have a few big miners that could finance their way through it, and all the little guys would have to unplug.
Yeah, that's always the war that happens during a bear market. It does seem like there's these cycles of hash wars where the big guys are trying to kill off the little miners and acquire their ASICs, and
making it even less decentralized.
Yeah.
Well,
now we've got greater than 50% of the hash power is all KYC'd.
Yeah, and then with an event where there's leads to more centralization, it would even trend further towards that.
Yeah. I'm assuming you saw that that one of the big mining, I think it was Antpool, is doing KYC on all their miners now.
Yeah. Yeah. Can you explain that a little bit?
Yeah. So if you want to mine for Antpool, so the two largest pools in Bitcoin comprise greater than 50% of the hash power, which they yelled at us for last year, if you remember that. They told us how shitcoin Monero and their mining pools and blah blah blah, and now they're the same fucking three fingers pointed back at themselves. Anyways, yeah. So if you want to mine on these pools, you've got a KYC, and they're the cheapest pools, so they're the highest incentive to point your hash power towards.
You got to KYC yourself as a miner.
Yeah.
Wow.
Who are you? Where are you at?
Yeah, you retweeted that.
When did that news drop? That's tremendous.
I guess it's been happening, but that was like last week that the news dropped on that.
Wow. That's absurd.
Compliance is coming for Bitcoin miners, and this is like when Mara tried.
Yeah, I know we always said it, but I kind of missed that one. I mean, that's a real big step in that direction. That's insane.
I even have some friends that
There's
are
a
like,
tweet from July 13th. Last weekend, Antpool's VIP clients gathered in Hong Kong and celebrated the 2023 KYC night. Yeah, let's celebrate KYC, guys.
What a celebration. Wow.
Jesus. I don't know. So maybe this is part of the right, the way everyone gets corralled.
Oh, it looks like it's a Chinese. Antpool's a Chinese-based pool, so they're like really going hard on it.
And they're growing in strength. They're growing in percentage.
Isn't it ironic that China kicked out their miners, but now like the biggest pool is in China still?
Yeah, that's pretty interesting. All right. Well, never a dull moment. Thank you, Bawdy. We'll keep moving it along, and you'll check in with us next week on all this.
Awesome.
Stick around if you can, though, especially for
the news talk.
I'd love to get your insights.
Right on.
Let's move on to the dev report.
Sweet. Thanks, buddy.
Thanks,
buddy.
All right, dev report time. Let's go.
And now for the Monero development segment.
Hey, how's it going?
Dgoon.
Dgoon, what's going on, man?
What's going on? Long time no see.
How you doing? Everything good?
I'm doing good. Do I sound okay?
Yeah. I just heard a little reverb, but I think that was me though. Oh, yeah, I think that's me. Yeah, all good on this end. So this week, know thy enemy. Okay, you're doing get us up to speed on WorldCoin, I guess.
Ooh.
Yeah.
It's like the Darth Vader. It's like Monero's evil twin, right? Is that? That's
a really good analogy. I didn't think about that because I've never seen such a, I guess, like malicious use of. Usually, you see cryptography used in ways to like bring freedom to people. Especially in this space, zero knowledge proofs, encryption, all that stuff. I've never seen like an evil twin. Yeah, that's a really good example. Yeah, that's a really good analogy. Actually, I'm gonna steal that.
So you got all the facts for WorldCoin. Last week we were kind of like touching on it, but no one really knew what it was because Monero people aren't interested in that. But you got the lowdown.
No, like the good saying, we gotta know thy enemy, right? And then we could inform people.
But yeah, pretty much just gonna be. I stole this photo from this Twitter thread. I think I don't know his name, Eric Waller. I don't want to pronounce his name. Did about it, and it really made me think about like. I just Googled WorldCoin. Like, WorldCoin was getting a lot of all deserved hatred. I just Googled it and like read the white paper. It's like really short, which is concerning given what they're doing. So, but this presentation will be really short. There's a quick view of what WorldCoin like actually is, I guess, on a technical level, if you want to call it that, and why obviously it is Monero's evil twin, and why Monero does what WorldCoin tries to do, but much better in a more freedom-preserving way. That's
I read through their privacy terms yesterday really quick, actually.
Oh, I didn't read that. How long is that actually?
It's not too long. It's not too long.
That's concerning given what they're doing. I was looking for. I'm like, there should be more. Like you're to propose something like this and not have a ton of supporting things is very sketchy. But let's get into it.
Yeah, take it away.
Say basically much, but if you've been underneath the rock for the past month, you might. What is this WorldCoin thing? Basically, I've seen a bunch of videos on Twitter where people use it. It sounds evil when you say it. Like it literally sounds evil when you say what it is. Basically, this I guess startup company is paying people to stare into a globe you see on the right, or I guess a ball, and it scans your iris and does a bunch of stuff with that information.
An orb, yeah.
An orb, yeah. It sounds bad, and it's about as bad as it actually is. A lot of people are naive about what it is because I've seen a lot of, I guess, developing countries, what people will call them. They go around and people pay you to do this. People aren't like, oh, yeah, I'll look into this ball for like some money. So people don't know what it is, but we're gonna go into what it is, why it's bad. You have a gut feeling that it's bad, you're probably right, but we're gonna go with technically why it's bad today. No surprises here. And basically, you take a quick glance at the WorldCoin. I guess let's go back a little bit. WorldCoin, in my understanding, is founded by Sam Altman, who's this like big tech entrepreneur. Same guy behind OpenAI, which is one of the biggest AI projects currently going. And he pretty much created this project to help. Which is funny. He created this project to help solve the issue of personhood. And the idea of proof of personhood is basically, they talk about in their paper, is how do you know that the person online is a real person and not an AI? Which is funny because he created the problem that he's proposing to solve this solution. And he also is a big proponent of like universal income. And he sees these things as a way, once you have someone's identity confirmed on like a blockchain, you want to call it that, you can pretty much make it much easier to give you universal and basic income, make it easier to do like KYC for like platforms, make sure that person you're talking to on Twitter had their eyeball scanned. It's as bad as it seems. And the more you read the white paper, it's just like, this is ridiculous. And the basic scheme is on the left here, you have the orb, and pretty much you have the user, which they're currently giving some coins to, and it scans their iris. And I'm not like a medical person, so like I don't take what I'm saying as a grain of salt, but I didn't know this, but apparently people's irises are really unique, or like something in your eyeball is unique, and it scans it sort of like a fingerprint, and then it does a zero knowledge proof of it, and then sends it to like a database somewhere, essentially. And then you can turn around and say, if you wanted to KYC for Elon Musk, you might go to a place where Elon for Twitter or Xer. I don't know what it's called anymore. Is it X? Is X for X?
X. Yes,
Yeah,
X.
just like X, I guess.
Feels wrong. But let's say Elon's like, I'm going to remove bots from X, and he might put these globes in major points in all major cities. You would show up, and you would verify with this platform, essentially proving that you had your eyeball scanned. And once again, it's as bad as it seems. Like there's no, if you get a gut feeling this is bad, it's about as bad as you can think about it being. And this is what you will see everywhere. The orb looks evil. It all feels evil. And what it's doing is scanning your iris or something in your eye. Once again, I didn't major in biology in school. It's scanning something unique in the back of your eyeball and giving you proof that you're unique. And you would take that proof and prove it to other people. They propose it for several things. Right? They propose that you could use it for like voting. You get proof of personhood for voting, proof of personhood for like UBI, all that kind of stuff. And it's very funny because they actually touch on some of the issues here, like the major limitations of what's going on here and how this security is like not really secure. They're going to go over why this, even at a high level, isn't going to work when it comes like being private and all these good things that we in Monero love. So I'm gonna get this over quick. Please bear with me. I know this is so. I want you guys to know your enemy. Pretty much two major issues that I see with this is that Monero solves is hardware. Basically, you're trusting the orb to be secure, and they also say this in their white paper. You want to call it that. And on the left here, you can see we have a Trezor wallet that has been hacked also. And on the right, you might be more familiar with like a credit card scammer. This basic idea is that there is no secure hardware, right? There's no hardware that's above being hacked. And you have to ask yourself what begins to happen if you're using these orbs to verify your identity. What happens if an orb is hacked, right? Because there's no hardware that has been unhacked. It does not exist because of centralization. And that's something they hit at their white paper. So this is terrible for hardware reasons. Because if you put your iris scan into a hacked orb, like some scammer now has your iris scan and can like imitate you, get credit card, loans, UBI, whatever they want to say on them. This is actually mentioned in their white paper. They don't really have a solution for it. They sort of just say, we're working on it. And the way that Monero solves this is Monero, I guess, acknowledges that there's no unhackable hardware. So what you do is that you decentralize, right? You say, instead of having one orb in New York City, for example, we want everyone to have these little tiny computers, and they can use the mine Monero and do that instead of as a proof of personhood, right? So instead of saying we're going to have centralized hardware, Monero takes the approach of let's decentralize it, and how every cryptocurrency should, right? Bawdy was talking about how Bitcoin isn't that decentralized, and that sort of is a major issue, but Monero doesn't have that issue. So that's one way that Monero fixes this. It accepts the fact that there's no bulletproof hardware, and instead it just spreads that hardware over everyone, right? So in theory, everyone has their own computer that they're all mining Monero on. They're all doing different cryptographic functions on. That way, if one has a bug, it's not a big issue because you might be running Raspberry Pi, you might be running a server somewhere, and that's how it should be, right? That's how Monero. This coin is Monero's super evil twin, right? Another issue is centralization because WorldCoin is pretty much owned, I believe. It's a private company invested in by Sam Altman and friends. So another issue is centralization of authority because who controls the orbs is also important, and who says who can get an orb scan, right? If the government comes out against you and say, sorry, Doug, you used too many environment points and you're hurting the environment, now we've rejected your eye scan, right? Who has the ability to push back against that? And like, unless you're Elon Musk or Sam Altman or like some political figure, they're going to change the rules of the orb. They're going to change who's a person and who's not a person, right? Because centralization and KYC go hand in hand, right? Because in order to have authority, I have to know who you are. In order to know who you are, I have the KYC. So these 10 things generally tend to go hand in hand. But with like I said, privacy kills authority, because if you're a private individual, it doesn't matter who you are, right? You don't have authority because, right, you're a private individual. We use different things for personhood, like can you pay this amount of money? Do you have this amount of hash power, et cetera, et cetera. And that's pretty much how I really like the analogy that WorldCoin is Monero's evil twin, and it's really bad. Like the white paper, I recommend you read the white paper for, I guess, one major reason is that WorldCoin is bad. But as I read the white paper, I kept thinking to myself, like, is this worse than our current, I guess, like fiat government reality? You know, because I was just thinking about like social security numbers and all of these things, and like it's just very interesting to see something get such a major pushback universally. So like I don't know anyone who actually likes WorldCoin, but then a lot of people will go and like give the government their use their driver license, give a social security card, all these other things sort of work hand in hand, you know, they sort of go together. So WorldCoin is terrible when it comes to anything privacy preserving. But unfortunately, I think that it'll probably be successful because the government loves this type of stuff, right? You know, so I don't know. What do you think, Doug? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, we see people waiting in lines to get their irises scanned, so it appears to be successful. I know, and I think we'll show it in the news. I think that's some of the tweets we have, but I think it was like in India, people. It appeared like people were getting paid separately, like people were paying people to go get their scan and then send them the WorldCoin, right? Because you get issued WorldCoin, I think, when you get your scan, right? You get issued a unique ID, and then you also get WorldCoin, I guess, sent to your wallet that's associated with that ID. So I think people were like harvesting the WorldCoin by getting, you know, people in some community in India, a very, you know, impoverished area, and saying, you know, we'll give you some cash. Just go scan your Irish and your eye, and send us your WorldCoin. So yeah, and then there's those that are just doing it on their own because they think it's, you know, free crypto and it's going to be the next best thing, and they want to get in early. And it's like, why not? They see it as no cost being associated with it. But we all know that old adage, right? If it's free, then, you know, you're likely the product. Yeah. So unfortunately, I do think it's going to have legs to some degree, because it appears like it's, you know, they really gamified it. They made it cool with the orb thing. Like there's we're scared of the orb, right? But I think there's a lot of people who are drawn to the orb.
It just looks evil. It just looks, I don't know. It just looks evil to me.
It looks evil.
It's like comic book evil.
Yeah.
You know, it's like you see it there and you're like drawn to it and you want to go touch it and like look into it, right? I mean, let's be honest, right? If you saw one of these things down, as you're going for a walk somewhere, you'd walk over and check it out. Now,
definitely.
You put your face in there and let it scan you? Probably, absolutely not. But I think
honestly, they could have just like left these out, you know, and let people come up to them and just
exactly,
you know, automatically without your consent, just capture, you know, information.
I'm sure they'll do that next. You'll just start to see them all over the place, right? You don't even need anybody managing it. It's like people just go up to it.
Don't touch the orb. Don't even look at it. Run away.
Yeah, unfortunately, I do think it's going to take off. I had put a tweet out like we need Monero people all around the world going out to where all these orb centers are and handing out pamphlets or literature or something, warning people about the orb.
Maybe like, I'll pay you this amount of Monero to not do this. I don't know.
There's that too. I don't know if we can afford to fund that.
We need to get some VC funding like Sam Altman has. But yeah, it's just reading this is very interesting because, like, unfortunately, like I said, I think it will take off because it seems to be a linear step in the fiat world, I guess fiat government world. But obviously, here we hate it. It's not good, and it just sucks that this type of stuff happens. But hopefully now people know a little bit more about it, I guess. And the Monero quiz, like you're talking about, people getting paid. Ooh. How much do you think people get paid for iScan? Around estimates, right? It's a coin, so it fluctuates in price. What do y'all think? Give me some tuxedo. What do you think?
Oh wow, I don't know the amount.
Go ahead. I think it was around 100, wasn't it?
Holy shit! They're giving out $100 per scan.
Oh wait,
That
this
was a
is not
guess.
an advertisement. Don't go do this.
That was a guess.
Doug's like, I gotta go.
You know what?
Is that right?
We're all gonna die anyway. No,
Let's see. It was actually reportedly when I googled this, it was around 60, but that could change, right? Because it's a coin. So if you say 60 or 100, you're not that far off, honestly. That was really
right,
good.
it's
I knew it was
60
around there.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
You're kind of just giving away a lot of money just for like that. But I mean, it's like, what do you value more? You know.
And what they're preying on the impoverished, right? This is really that's the thing, right? It's like $60 to you and I. We might be like, yeah, there's absolutely no way I'm giving taking that risk. But if you're living on $1 a day, and somebody comes
60.
around and says all you got to do is put your head over here and scan your thing,
because that's 60 US, but that's like universal, right? Yes. So in like other countries, that's like a small fortune for some people.
Yeah. It's just 60 USD. Yeah. So
I mean, this is just it's very, very unethical. It's kind of like buying people's body parts, right? I mean,
it's messed up.
Not too far away from that. I mean, although we don't, I hate to give them some like deference, but if things are designed as they say, then supposedly, right, they're not associating the person with the scan. Right, that's what they're claiming. But there's just so much room. There's just so much room for error. Like we all know, right? That's not about even. Obviously, the whole idea with crypto and decentralization is that you don't have to trust anyone. And here you are. You're like you said. You're trusting this hardware. You're trusting the fact that you can't get hacked. You're trusting the fact that people can't figure out ways to eventually associate your ID with your WorldCoin identity. It's just way too risky.
Yeah, terrible. I believe the code's closed source right now. I could be wrong, but I wasn't able to find any like GitHub for WorldCoin, right? So yeah, you're trusting a closed source black, or in this case, I guess silver orb with all your is really bad. Like you said, yeah, it's really messed up because all the videos and photos I found were in like developing countries where $60 would go much further than it would here. I'm not doing this for $6 here, but like you said, if someone makes $1 a day, 2 months pay.
Tremendous.
I don't know. Yeah.
To go wait on a line to scan your eye. Yeah. Well, I would say maybe the silver lining is that this is how people come to realize how important something like Monero is.
Yes.
Unfortunately, it's going to take moments like these. We've always said it, right? CBDCs will wake people up. Things like WorldCoin are going to wake people up. So unfortunately, the sheep are going to be the ones that fall for these things.
Yeah.
But Monero's here. We're building it out. We're opting out, and we're waiting for others that wake up. Like we'll be here when you're ready. When you realize the implications.
And once you messed up, you're like, I need some privacy now. They have everything about me. Like we'll be here, open arms. No. But
wild, man. Yeah. Wild. All right.
That's pretty much it. Yeah.
Dgoon, thanks. Great as always. Stick around if you can, please.
I will.
Yeah, we'll get every viewers on stage up soon. I guess let's jump to the guest, and we'll have a quick intro, and then we'll do the news with the guest up on stage, and we'll bring all the viewers up. Proceed like that.
All right, let's do it. Thanks, Dgoon.
Thanks, Dgoon.
The Monerotopia guest segment is sponsored by Cake Wallet. Store, send, receive, and exchange your Monero and Bitcoin safely on iOS and Android too. Cake Wallet is open source, and you always control your own keys.
Yo.
Hey guys, can you hear me?
Yeah, how's it going?
Yeah.
Good day.
Good day. Thanks for jumping on.
Yeah, of course.
I'm not used to this screen name.
Oh, is it Reed Rothbard or Drunk Dial Me?
You got Reed Rothbard. Yeah, I'm used to Drunk Dial Me. You want to quickly introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm on. I get nuked on Twitter pretty frequently, but I was, if you've noticed, some Monero adoption contests lately that people have been competing in. There's a lot of people in South America that have been in the rounds past few weeks, past month or so. I was giving away 1 XMR for the first prize, half an XMR for second place, and having it for each up to 4 winners. But if you've seen contests for people onboarding local brick and mortar merchants to accept XMR, I was kind of started that and heading it up. And then
Awesome.
Christian, oops, sorry.
No, just saying, great. That's amazing that you. Yeah, I did see a little bit of that on Twitter. It looks like you're having some success with that.
Yeah, actually, I was really shocked how successful it was. I just started it so I could get some screenshots of local businesses accepting Monero because the ones I had were a little stale. And so I was just trying to get like a handful of pictures, and I couldn't believe the response. So this kind of happened around the same time that we discovered in northern Argentina the Libertad football team already had a little circular economy in their town. I don't know if the town is called Formosa or not, but the winner of my contest last time, his name was his handle is at Chris. Well, it's kind of a weird spelling. At Christian.
Yeah,
CRXST.
we've had him on the show. He's I think the guy in Argentina that's running the soccer thing, right? The football.
I don't think he's a part of that. He's in a town about an hour away from that northern town in Argentina.
Oh, he's the butcher. Is he the butcher?
Yeah. He onboarded. Okay. I think he might own the butcher shop / grocer. So he sells produce and meat.
Yes.
He onboarded them. So it's really cool to see how open to adoption people in Argentina are. So in that region, there's already a circular economy going, and Christian actually kind of, after this contest, started his own donation page based on Anarchio's XMR donation platform.
Mm-hmm.
So he's kind of running with that.
So wait, he's collecting donations, and then he's using that to onboard new vendors, essentially, new stores and whatnot.
Yeah, so he's been pretty effective. I think he might have even been I think I even awarded him some Monero before the contest started, or donated some to him. Or maybe he was in the first contest. We're acquainted. I'd say we're acquaintances, but we're not working together. So he set up a donation page, and I was kind of considering doing the same thing. Just to, first of all, I was paying for this out of pocket just to get some of those pictures, but this actually seems like a really sustainable and effective model. So I was trying to figure out a way to just perpetuate this. And once Christian, again, his handle is at CRXSTXIAN. It's kind of a weird spelling, but he's doing it locally. So he's asking for donations to onboard people in his northern Argentina town, which is just about an hour away from where the Libertad soccer team stadium is, and their little circular economy is, where they're kind of have their betting platform that's sparked all this there.
Yes.
But once that gets, once his area is saturated, I was wanting to continue this. I don't want to actually distract from what he's doing right now, but I do want to continue this model because it's extremely effective. I was thinking on focusing on other parts, maybe other towns in Argentina, or maybe they could help head that up. Venezuela is a prime target since they have crazy inflation. They're so desperate for sound money, they're actually illegally sneaking into nationalized gold mines that are shut down and scraping out gold flakes out of the earth and using it as local currency for haircuts and whatnot.
Oh, wow. Yeah, no, I think, are you there? Did we lose you? Hello? Drunk dial me. I think we lost him. Tux, you there?
Lose 'em? Yeah, I'm here.
You can't hear me?
Oh, there you are.
There you are.
Oh,
You cut out.
where they cut out?
Yep.
Yeah. So anyway, this I've been very heavily focused on adoption. Doug, you and I have talked quite a bit. We were trying to source local farmers to sell produce on gratuitous.
Yeah.
But I've been trying every angle I can think of. So I took some notes down on topics, but yeah. Anyway, as far as this donation thing goes, I don't really even necessarily want to handle the Monero. I don't mind just running the contest, and maybe if someone wants to step in and use it as a promotion, like Cake Wallet or Moneruju, or whoever, if they wanted to sponsor this, or sponsors could cycle in and out to award this, I can just run the contest, not even handle any of the wallets, and just run the polls and promotions. But
so wait, cool. So how would it work? So you'd raise the money, and then how does the contest work? You people like, how do you get first prize? Like what is the contest?
Well, I've been experimenting. I just was kind of, it was all ad hoc. My first contest, I just threw it out there like, hey, whoever can onboard local merchants and provide video of paying for something at a local brick and mortar, I will put you in a contest and put it up for community vote. First place is 1 Monero, second place half Monero, etc. So I was doing that out of pocket, but I think to make it sustainable, like I'm not promoting anything, so I'm actually just losing money. I was just doing it, like I said, to replace some stale pictures of Monero merchants. Like there's a lot of people in New Hampshire that accept Monero. I had some pictures from there, and coffee shops, and a baklava shop in Turkey. But anyway, but it just exploded. I had all sorts of entrants scrambling to put their entries up for vote. So I did a second round, but I can't sustain it. I can't just keep giving away Monero.
Yeah, no, dude, you do a lot, man.
Right.
Yeah, for anybody that doesn't know, you do a lot, and you have a lot of creative ideas, and you take action. And in my dealings with you, it's obvious to me that you're just passionately trying to spread Monero and build out a circular economy. But yeah, there's no reason why you should have to spend all your hard-earned Monero. You're doing enough just by managing this and kicking it off. So the idea being you want to perpetuate this, use the Kickstarter thing, have people donate funds, and then maybe get help with managing it is what you're looking to do?
Well, I don't even necessarily need to touch the Monero. If someone wanted to sponsor it, and I just kind of promote and run the contest and the polls, like if someone wanted to say, I pledge to pay first place 1 Monero, second place half Monero, blah, blah, blah. I kind of want to let Christian saturate his town in Argentina. He's got a little donation page.
Mm-hmm.
But once he's kind of got that done, I think focusing on Argentina, Venezuela, Nigeria, New Hampshire, and ideally the Netherlands, since they've got that big farmer land seizure thing happening.
I mean, my honest take. Well, one, Argentina. I think it's amazing that we're seeing kind of natural, organic traction take place there. So, yeah, I think we should double down there and try to help as much as we can, right? Because it's kind of blossoming on its own. And there's a ton of work to be done there.
Yeah,
I don't see saturation happening anytime soon in that area. But if we stayed focused there, and I know we spoke about it on the show quite a bit, maybe doing the next Monerotopia in Buenos Aires. So maybe between now and then, we could really try to help push things in Argentina. Each show, it seems like every show we're talking about it more and more. So just staying focused on that area for a while. We may be going down there soon just to do recon. I think I saw you putting a tweet out that you might want to head down there just to see things.
Yeah, I've been wanting to go down there for years. Someone did kind of tipped me off that BCH is getting a pretty decent foothold down there too. They just had a convention. They apparently have about 300 businesses that are accepting BCH, or were at this convention at least to get educated, maybe. But that's actually not necessarily bad news, because BCH and Monero, we get along probably better than most coins. But if those merchants accept BCH, well, they probably accept multiple cryptos, so we could even, I don't want to say poach, but approach those merchants as well. I know there's a lot of Monero people in Argentina, so if you're down there, networking that town outside of where Libertad is, the Libertad soccer football stadium is, where that town of Christian's at, if they start the way I see it, if these little economic circular economies are happening, once they start networking with each other, networking town to town, all of a sudden we're starting to get a real network effect, and then we can just kind of pop off as far as adoption goes, and regionally at least. But yeah, kind of go back to this promotion idea though. I don't really want to handle the Monero, but if someone wanted to sponsor it and pledge that they'll pay for first place, second place, I could still run it and do that. But one issue I've seen is it seems like maybe people were gaming the polls somehow. So I don't know if anyone knows anything about that, but it did seem like we had a lot of like suddenly porn accounts were voting, maybe promoting certain people.
Oh, like bot accounts?
Contest. Yeah, I don't. So if someone has insight into that, I'd be more than willing.
Like people trying to like get money for not actually doing anything.
Yeah,
and I could see a rise in people like faking it.
Yeah, it did seem like, I don't know, maybe they had a big circle of friends, but there was a huge spike in votes for a couple of contestants, and there seemed to be like porn accounts or OnlyFans type accounts associated with them.
Okay.
And I actually did get scammed.
Oh no.
There's apparently bots out there that break for crypto contests. So I had a winner, and I was going to award the first place. And the way the scam works is, so in the public threads, it's like, okay, you win.
Yeah,
send me your address.
They DM'd you, right, and looked like the winner. They disguised
my DMs with their profile pic changed and their name changed. And in Twitter, you can't see in the DMs the @ you can't see their actual address, their @ you see their screen name, which anyone can change. So they basically changed their profile pic and their fake or temporary name, and kind of clutter up the conversation so it looks like you've had a previous conversation rolling with them. And it's like, oh, blah, blah, I'm so thankful, here's my address, and I accidentally sent first prize to a bot. Who knows, maybe it was an actual person who's really on top of it, but it did seem a little bit automated, how fast it happened. But I did honor sending first prize to the real winner. I just kind of
that sucks. You got scammed. We had that happen to us too, a little while ago. Same thing. Somebody DM'd us with the fake thing. We weren't paying attention, and
yeah. So if you're out there, go to hell.
Well, at least they got some Monero, right? They're helping to build a circular economy by stealing Monero. At least use it.
They knew what was good and they wanted it.
Yeah. But speaking of scams in Monero, I've been recently seeing a lot of $ Monero, not hashtags, but the $ ticker symbols. Has anyone else noticed that there's there's a bunch of bots? They look like all of their profile pics are generated by all those like NFT type pictures, and they're basically promoting a fake
like
Monero.
The monkeys.
They're not monkeys. They're a lot of like frogs and dumb stuff.
Yeah,
like
it was the ticker is Monero, right? Like the actual ticker is the spelled out Monero. I saw that earlier last week, and I was like, I was confused. I was like, what the hell is this?
What's the scam though?
Yeah, so I think what the scam is there's they use the $ Monero, which creates a hyperlink on Twitter. It's not the hashtag Monero; it's the
So instead of
$.
XMR as the ticker, it's literally Monero. It's the ticker.
Okay.
Well, yeah, I don't know if they also use XMR, but if you click on that and you try to, I think what the scam probably is that you go to a fake exchange and try to buy Monero or trade your crypto, and it just goes into a black hole. I'm guessing that's what the scam there is. But
Yeah.
I'm pretty on top of. I never say this on Twitter, but I think it's really important for all of us to do housekeeping and always report all the affinity scams or the fake Monero scams. I wouldn't recommend talking about it on Twitter because the people running these bot accounts will know about you and block you, so you can't see their bots and scams.
Yeah.
But this is just kind of a PSA, public service announcement for the Monero community. Never walk past a bot or scam or affinity scam on Monero without reporting or blocking, because you've got all these people who are going into the crypto world and they're surrounded with 25,000 shitcoins. If every time they go to a Monero account and it's clean, it keeps focus on Monero and they're not getting like distracted with all these scams. But anyway.
Yeah, no, that's a good some good info to put out there. I know another thing you had tweeted about was Howard being booted from Twitter.
Yeah, it just happened, I guess, 2 days ago. So I mean, Howard Chu for those who don't know, he basically created the inner workings of the Random X protocol, which is the ASICs resistance of Monero mining. And they've also kind of adapted that for the Tor network recently. So he's a former NASA scientist, real mild-mannered guy. I've heard you describe the politics of what's the guy's name who created GNU?
Oh, Richard Stallman.
Oh.
Yeah, I heard someone describe Richard Stallman's politics as the politics of a suburban soccer mom. Howard Chu's kind of no shade on Howard Chu at all, but he's very like mild mannered. He's not controversial. I don't think I've ever even seen him swear, but real respectable guy, former NASA scientist. He originally invented the protocol for, I think, satellites. But anyway, he got banned, which I don't know what. I've seen theories of there's botnets that are attacking him because he's too good at taking down. He was just breaking down white tethers, BS. So sounds like a coordinated attack.
You know who I also just got suspended earlier this morning? Someone notified me because I had tweeted out, I was asking what people recommended for conveniently on topic onboarding a local shop, what they would recommend using, and Cicada Wallet responded, "Hey, try out our wallet," because they do like a business like XMR and BTC wallet. And then suddenly this morning their account was suspended.
What?
Yeah, the @Cicada Wallet. And they were a sponsor for Monerotopia, weren't they?
Yeah,
they were on I don't know, it's weird. I'm thinking maybe these are being done in error because I know a lot of these suspensions and bans that happen, a lot of them are just like based upon automated systems. There was no human that actually made a decision there. But it's still like weird, right? Like Howard Chu, people are thinking maybe it's because of like his politics or because, of something he's been involved with in the past because he's done like a lot of smart things. And he's been involved with Monero and stuff. But then like Cicada Wallet, it's like what? They make just like a business wallet for BTC and XMR. It's super weird. So I'm thinking based on that, it might be an automated thing. But it still like shows the fact that these centralized systems are like not great. Even if it is automated, right? It's like it's just stuff is happening that shouldn't be, and it's preventing people from being able to communicate and talk and say what they want.
It's horrible. I mean, an accidental ban is just
even that's just like it just shows like these platforms are not great.
Yeah, we reached out to Howard. We emailed them. Maybe we could get him to jump on a Monerotopia next week or something. Hopefully, he'll respond, and we'll hear his side of things. Hopefully, it would be great to have him. Haven't heard from him in a while. But yeah, he's amazing for all the things you're saying. I mean, obviously, RandomX is what he's most known for in Monero, but he's contributed in a lot of other ways. And his just general takes. He has an amazing understanding of the technology on a very deep level. He's also probably one of the best voices that speaks out against the transparency of Bitcoin, and he does it in a very intelligent way. It brings a lot of exposure there.
You're not allowed to be that smart.
And Elon senses the competition. He's like, I'm the genius, not you.
One thing I'd love to hear from Howard Chu is that I've been thinking of is so we've got the RandomX protocol, which uses the CPU architecture and helps make it ASIC resistant. I'm wondering how RandomX would fit into a quantum secure future. Like, are CPUs and RandomX going to be adequate, or do we need to? Is anyone thinking of ways to do something similar so we don't have essentially ASIC mining farms, but instead of ASIC, it's quantum computers? So that's something I've been rolling around in my head. I'm wondering what his thoughts are on it, because obviously he's extremely respected and knows his stuff. But if you have him on, I'd love to hear his thoughts.
Yeah. We've had some good Monero Talk episodes on that topic, actually. Drawing a blank on the guy's name that came on and spoke about potential quantum resistance of Monero. Recommend checking that out. But yeah, it's a good question for Howard. I might have asked
quantum secure.
Yeah.
Quantum secure encryption or quantum secure mining, because they're kind of two different issues.
We just talked about the potential quantum, how whether or not Monero would be, quantum resistant, and what can be done to make it so, in all respects.
Okay. Well, I mean,
go ahead.
Yeah, that's kind of what kicked this whole thing off and why I shouted out at you. But since recently there was also the Monero adoption thing, I'm more than happy to talk about that some more. Maybe some of the merchants who were in the contest or won it. But I've been focused on adoption of all sorts of experimentation. I've got some other ideas for adoption that I'd really love to throw out to the Monero folks as well. But I guess real quick, I could run down some of the people who were in the contest. So yeah, we had a butcher / grocery store in Christian's town. This is the town next to the Libertad football stadium. We had a barber. So there's a barber in his town, and there's a barber in, I don't know which town is Formosa and which one is the other one, but there's a barber in both towns apparently. There's a home improvement store in Christianstown and a hardware store in the Libertad town. So it's really cool to see that there's one of each in each town, and they're so close together. But there was also a t-shirt print shop that, I mean, a lot of this stuff was already done ahead of time, but anyway, some people who have been seeing me trying to get adoption going might have seen me in the past also trying to promote local farmers and homesteaders, trying to set up little direct dealings with people who want to spend Monero on meat and products to pay farmers and homesteaders who are accepting Monero locally. So I've been doing that for a long time too, and that's kind of going okay.
Once we have XMR Bazaar up, would love to kind of work with you to help grow adoption on that. We're really building it for those purposes. But yeah, would be great to get some of these guys on there.
Yeah, that was sort of my original adoption project, and I still try to keep it going. But I found people willing to accept Monero in Tennessee, Southeast Texas, Netherlands,
amazing,
Houston, Canada, Ohio, Idaho, Morocco, Central Missouri and Arkansas, Northern California, Southern California, a few in New Hampshire, or a couple in New Hampshire, South Carolina, Iowa, Southern California, Missouri, Colorado, a couple in Colorado actually, Cuba, which is interesting. South Africa, Stockholm, Sweden, another one in Texas, so that's like a 3 in Texas, and Argentina. So if you live in any of those regions, reach out to me. All I do is put you in contact with that person, and I don't want to be involved at all.
You should throw them all up on Monerotopia if you haven't already.
Well, I'm trying to keep these more direct relationships. I just connect people and then step away and suggest that they use Telegram or Signal or Session to talk to
Is
each
it like
other.
farmers?
Yeah, these are farmers and homesteaders.
Okay.
So if you're a homesteader or farmer and you're interested in selling produce or meat for Monero, just reach out to me. And if I come across someone who's in your region, I'll just put them in contact with you, and I wash my hands of it. But my whole idea behind this, well, for those who don't know, there's sort of this hippie idea concept that's been around for a long time. It's very established, but it's called community supported agriculture, or a CSA. And the idea is local farmers basically have people in their community subscribe to a box of produce or meat or eggs or whatever that either show up on their doorstep or go to a local pickup point. So my idea behind this whole local Monero homesteader farmer thing was to plant little parallel economy economic seeds in little locations that would be turned into CSAs, because I'm actually doing this where I live. I found someone who sells me eggs and some produce, even fish, and I haven't been able to get the sausage yet, but they're selling me things for Monero locally, but he's like an hour and a half away, so coordinating is very difficult. So the idea behind what I'm trying to do with this other adoption project with these homesteaders and farmers is just make these connections between the buyers and sellers, and they're like little parallel economy seeds, and hopefully the seller takes the initiative to basically be the pickup point, because these farmers and homesteaders are often outside of urban areas, so it's inconvenient for them to come into town and coordinate with everyone on a drop-off time or to deliver to someone's door. So the way a traditional CSA works, which again stands for Community Supported Agriculture, is that you have basically a little network of buyers who trade off responsibility for picking stuff up from the farmer, and the farmer just fills the order, and then they bring it into the city center or little regional nodes that are more convenient for everyone, and people who are customers come and pick up their box of produce and meat. So if we could get those little economic seeds of CSA supported local CSAs going, all of a sudden you've got a network of people. You might have a plumber and an accountant, a lawyer, an electrician, also people with different trades all of a sudden are in the CSA, and then they can have like a little circular economy going. And if these little nodes start networking across regions, like across the east and west side of a state, for instance, or across state borders, all of a sudden you've got maybe this CSA over here has an accountant and this CSA over here has a plumber. Well, if they start networking with each other, all of a sudden, you could really start hitting that inflection point regionally, just like what's happening in northern Argentina. So I've been doing that for a while. So if you heard me rattle off any one of these regions where you want to buy stuff with Monero, just reach out to me. I'll put you in contact. But it's up to you to sort of establish your own direct relationship with that farmer or homesteader. Or more importantly, if you're a homesteader or farmer, I'm always looking for more people regionally. And Doug, I would love to work with you on that.
Yeah.
My biggest reservation with this is posting the stuff so that it can be scraped online easily, because I kind of feel like we have to have an approach like marijuana dispensaries had.
I mean, like, I understand it. I know a lot of these farmers, they don't really have any like you can't just post a website, right? Like they don't really have a presence outside of just having like a number or something.
Yeah, exactly. So I think.
Well, I think like something like XMR Bazaar would hope to really solve that problem, right, Tux? I mean, this is what we're really built
Yeah.
and you could keep your anonymity. You don't really have to say much about who you are. It's just here's what you're providing, and it's peer to peer. So it is a level of protection there, but it's you need some way of people to find out who these people are, right? Otherwise,
Especially if it's free. Yeah.
you're never going to build
Yeah.
out the economy otherwise. But I hear what you're saying. Like we need to be a little bit covert.
Well, that's an interesting issue because what I've found is that, I mean, farmers are extremely busy people, and no offense to any of them, but they're often not software engineers or programmers or anything. So there's a huge barrier to entry for marketing themselves digitally in any form or fashion.
Mhm.
Like we've got Starview Farms, who would love to take Monero. He takes just about every shitcoin in the world, but he doesn't list Monero because it's hard for him to integrate into his website. He's had a lot of difficulty finding someone to help him. And then there's also this very large platform called farmmatch.com.
Yes.
They're an old school libertarian mainstay that they've been battling the FDA for, I think, decades now, because they sell raw milk, raw eggs. They form these little buyer co-ops, and they all have to sign contracts that they're in a private club. Still, the FDA raids these poor Amish farmers and puts tax liens and stuff on them. In fact, I just saw the other day Miller Farm, which is one of the main targets of the FDA. They've been battling forever. They are
Miller's Biofarm. They went after them.
I don't know if it was an old video, but I did just see it in my feed recently. Something about Miller. Yeah, Miller by well.
Yeah, because I've been ordering from them. Well, I haven't ordered in a while, but what the intent was to get them to accept Monero. I almost got them, and then honestly, I kind of got distracted.
Yeah, I think
that's
there might be.
Those guys are great.
Amish.
Yeah, they're Amish.
Oh, okay, so it's very likely they're the same people.
Yeah, Miller's Biofarm.
Something in my feed. I don't know if there's an old story about complications.
Oh, Miller's Biofarm, yeah.
Yeah, and then even on Gratuitous we have where you could just buy a gift card to Miller's Biofarm with Monero. That was kind of our workaround, and then you can use that to go buy your goods, so you could effectively use Monero to buy raw milk.
I didn't know they were Amish.
Yes, they're
Cool.
Amish.
That's honestly the best.
Yeah, I'll throw out there too. I know I mentioned this in numerous times, but we're trying to add to Gratuitous a way to purchase pasture-raised eggs to join an egg subscription service for pasture-raised eggs, and we just recently made progress with that. The big thing was trying to figure out how to ship them and figure out the materials to use. What's that?
All the logistics.
Well, not even it's hard to ship eggs without eggs breaking. So
yeah, true.
I've been for over a year now getting eggs shipped to me from some farm, and so now we're working with somebody in the Monero community who produces eggs, and we got them to the point where we think we have figured out the packaging.
Oh, so you just get eggs shipped to you, like in the regular post?
I do. Yeah, I get like
and it works pretty well.
4 dozen eggs that come in a box, and
you eat them all in one day.
I eat them over the course of a few weeks. But yeah, that's something that I personally love to do, to be able to pay Monero for. So we're hoping that we're really close to adding that to Gratuitous, so you'll be able to buy an egg subscription. You'll get 4 cartons shipped to you per month.
And eventually, just XMR Bazaar, hopefully.
Yeah, and then that's a whole nother thing. But it would be very cool to do. It was just the hardest part was, the packaging. It's hard to ship eggs without breaking them. We actually did a few trial runs and it didn't work out too well. But yeah, man, why don't we we're already like an hour and a half in. Why don't we go ahead and bring up the view, do like we did last time, bring up the viewers on stage, and then we'll get the news going, and we can have our guests participate in all that.
All right. I'll run that.
I don't know if you realize this, but I was the one. I'm the same guy who was working with you on that egg project early on Telegram and everything.
Yes. No. Yes. Of course. Of course. I know. Yeah. Sorry about that. Yeah.
Oh no, I had different names, so I was just
Yeah. So we've made progress. I don't know if you noticed, but we're close. I think. Are you in that chat with us with the egg guy?
I'm still in the
might even
Telegram
be.
groups. I
Yeah.
don't know if I've seen
It's been a long, probably been like over a year. We've been talking to this guy, but we've now done test shipments, and we have somebody who's sourcing the packaging from China, and like it's close. It's close.
Awesome.
But yeah, let's go ahead and do that, Tux. Just keep things moving along so we could do viewers on stage and then get the news going.
All right, sweet.
It's the Viewers on Stage segment. It's that time where we invite you, the viewers, up on stage to comment on anything you've heard so far today, ask the guest a question, or maybe talk about one of the news topics. Come on down.
All right, guys,
All
come
right.
on up. I'm gonna post the StreamYard link. I'm gonna comment
Post the
that.
StreamYard link. Bring up anybody that wants to chat.
Anybody who's already inside the StreamYard, just send a message in the private chat so I know that you want to come up.
Yeah, anybody that wants to talk about some of the things we talked about today, and they'll be doing the news. We'd love to get different people's insights on the top news. And
Hello.
Hello.
who do we got there? Who's that?
That's Anon Groiper.
Hey, what's going on, man?
Not much. I just wanted to raise on the Monero Bazaar with the three-way multi-sig. What is the online requirement for the vendor? So do they have to, because you have the communication rounds to construct the multi-sig wallet? Yeah. What are the? Do you know what do you know what I mean?
Tux, you picking up what he's putting down?
You said requirements for the vendor?
Yeah. So let's say I went and made a listing, and then I went offline. To construct the multi-sig wallet, obviously I need to come back to participate in the construction. Before then, the purchaser can pay with using a multi-sig approach. Is that right?
Well, it's so like if it's something like, let's say like a product, like I'm the buyer, I'm buying eggs. The seller's selling me eggs.
Yeah.
We both decide to do a multi-sig, and it uses this client-side software. So the actual creation of the wallet will be non-custodial. It'll be on your browser on your computer. It's using JavaScript, but it is client-side, and it will generate multiple wallets. Well, actually 3. It'll generate one for the buyer, the seller, and the mediator. But everyone has to be at some point, not necessarily at the same time. We're still looking into exactly how it's been set up, because this is like super, super new, like alpha stuff. But at some point, everyone will have to be on this same like escrow page to allow the code to generate a wallet. But most of it will be pretty automated. And we might have it also so that instead of it generating a wallet, there you can have it. Well, it'll generate a wallet regardless, just so the multi-sig will work. But we could also potentially have it in a way so that it sends it to like a separate wallet. But since it's non-custodial, you'll probably end up having to do that yourself.
Yeah. There's a scheme that I've looked into a bit and have started implementing a bit myself that involves rather than having a escrow multi-sig wallet, instead you do a scalar secret share, split it up into two parts, and then you can essentially you have your scalar private key and then a corresponding public key point. You share the point, but then you encrypt the private key with the corresponding other secret, and so you've got the two secrets. Party A encrypts their secret with Party B's public key, and then submits a zero knowledge proof that secret, that encrypted blob, when decrypted with the other party's public key, would be the corresponding private key for the matching point. And then you essentially just store the information on the server, and then you can reconstruct. And so it's kind of a way of achieving a multi-sig escrow. So I'm looking. So there's a Rust library that implemented the cryptography for that. Just needed a small tweak to work on the ED25519 curve. But yeah, lets the merchant be offline because they can construct their shares prior.
That's interesting. That would definitely be a consideration. And it would be like you could and you said you're looking at this, you could set it up in a way to where it's like a 2 of 3 kind of thing.
It essentially works as a 2 of 3 because the merchant shares their secret with the platform or the arbitrator, but the arbitrator doesn't know the purchaser's one. They can store it to give to the merchant, but they can't get to the underlying scalar because it's been encrypted with the merchant's public key. And so either the purchaser can just send the information or have it auto-released, or it can go through if the buyer then goes unresponsive, the platform can just then give that encrypted secret. But the buyer did the encryption. So there's client-side generation and encryption happening on both the merchant and the buyer. But you end up with a 2 of 3 scenario where 2 people have to agree on an outcome.
That's cool. We should. It would be cool if we could get an Archeo up to talk about.
Yeah, this is a big topic. I greatly appreciate you jumping up here and talking about this. Maybe we can devote a part of a show to this.
Effectively, it sounds similar as that's basically what we're doing. It's just a 2 of 3 multi-sig, but we're having to adapt it to take that, make it actually usable for people that don't want to set all this up, right? So it's going to be easy, pretty automated, but it's like a lot to try and get that to work by itself. But
there's a lot of work from the initial. We can do this sort of cryptographic flow in order for the exchange to operate, but then there's so much that needs to be built on top of that.
Yeah, and making it so that it's completely non-custodial is pretty challenging, but it can be done.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of stuff happening in this space. I think Ko's working on something related to a multi-sig for some platform.
Yeah, I believe he is. But let's keep moving along, and hopefully in the next week or two we'll be further along with XMR Bazaar. Maybe we'll be even able to like demo the multi-sig, and we'd love to have you jump on again at that time and give your input.
Oh yeah, it'd be great to see. I'm a lot further behind than
yeah, this is great. This is
well.
amazing. That's so many different things are happening in the Monero ecosystem. Everybody's trying to build out different solutions for essentially for a lot of the same problems. The competition is amazing. This is all really good stuff, guys. This is Monero is flourishing. Ignore, we go over price at the beginning of this show every week, but it's obviously the least important aspect of Monero. The community is very vibrant. People are working on a lot of different things. Let's get the news going, and now we have a bunch of people up here, and we can go around if anybody wants to chime in on any news topic. I'm going to try to move it along pretty briskly, just so we don't stay on like one news topic too long. But we'll have Tony come up here, do the news, and we can get people's insights on the news. Thank you so much, man, for jumping up. And
yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
You sound a lot smarter than
yeah, but please stick around if you can.
Oh yeah,
I have to head off, but
okay. Well, we'll is there a way we could contact you? We can reach out to you. Maybe we could even maybe I don't know if you'd be interested. Maybe you want to help test out what we built.
Yeah, definitely. I'll send an email.
Yeah, send an email to our Monerotopia at ProtonMail.
All right. See you.
See ya. Awesome. Amazing.
Hey, it's Tony. All right, I'll run that news segment.
What's going on? Yeah, let's run the news segment.
All right, that's good.
And now for our weekly news segment.
Right.
All this techno music makes me want to get my raving sunglasses on and get ready to party.
Tony live.
Where are you at, Tony?
I'm in Romania now.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, so I'm back in Europe. And I haven't done it live in a long time, so I'm excited.
Yeah. Thanks for doing this. So yeah, if you want to quickly, let's run through the stories, and we'll try to get people, if they want to chime in. If our guest wants to chime in, Bawdy wants to chime in, whoever else wants to jump up on stage to give their comments.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so the first, I kind of have it in segments. The first is CBDC, and then the rest is kind of Monero. So, okay, let's talk about the World Economic Forum. They wrote an article which says the EU unveils plans for digital euro, promising complete and utter privacy, which is what they always say. And if we go on the article, they say, move over crypto. Europe has moved one step closer to a digital euro. The European Commission has unveiled a legal framework that paves the way for the introduction of an electronic currency across the 20 member states that use the euro. How will the digital euro work? The European Central Bank is tasked with securing the nuts and bolts of the digital euro, which it says could complement cash and be launched as soon as 2027. With the digital euro, people will be able to pay in public money. Uniquely, they will be able to pay both online and offline, which is very, very important. You're going to have a digital wallet. Again, online and offline payments, which is very important. It will be safe and secure, instant and convenient, online and offline, offering more consumer choice alongside with private digital payment options such as cards and apps. Now, obviously, you're not going to have privacy. And we had articles in the past which they were basically saying that, yes, you're going to have privacy, but your identity is going to be linked to your wallet. And if you do anything that is against the law or what the ones ruling us like, then they can just go in your wallet and do whatever they want. So, and then I have 3 more articles, and then we're going to discuss all of it at once. The Digital Dollar Project completes CBDC retail remittance pilot with Western Union. What's interesting is that in the US, from all the articles that I read, the US is the only country that every single time mention, oh, we're thinking about a digital dollar. It may come, maybe not. We're just playing with it. We're just trialing out. But of course, that eventually is going to come. The project simulated transfers to customers of BDO Unibank in the Philippines with improved settlement time, cost, and transparency. So it's faster, it's cheaper, and with transparency. So that the DDP, the Digital Dollar Project, announced the completion of a pilot study of remittance payments to the Philippines using a simulated retail central bank digital currency, RCBDC. And most importantly, they said the pilot demonstrated that rather than displacing the service offerings of Western Union and BDO Unibank, CBDCs present an opportunity to modernize processes and promote efficiencies for private sector companies and their customers. And then they went over costs, and that they, I think, let's see where it is. In 2022, they had a total value of $626 billion of remittances. And a typical transaction is between $200 to $300. So CBDC is essentially going to be a lot faster, and it's going to save a lot of money. And when they keep saying that, yeah, we may have a digital dollar or not, well, MIT is onto it as well. The MIT Digital Currency Initiative introduces at-scale programmable CBDC platform. They have something called the PARSEC, short for Parallelized Architecture for Scalably Executing Smart Contracts. That's a mouthful as well. Runs on the ERC20 standard, so it could have other applications too. And so what's really important is that the developers highlighted the platform speed. It performed 118,000 ERC20 transactions per second on 128 hosts, exceeding public permissionless blockchains, they said. So again, it's really, really fast. And for a future form of payment, you want it to be fast, you want it to be cheap, which is something that we don't have today, because every single time you make international settlements is really expensive. And I went through it and I paid all the stupid fees and everything, and you wait 5 days for it to settle. And they also said we focus on smart contracts because they provide the highest degree of expressivity and functionality to users. That's Windows Update. Windows sucks. Use Linux. I gotta fix it. Programmability allows for asset backing and decentralization that is not possible under current CBDC designs. Developers should be taking advantage of the programmable opportunities that stable coin assets offer, rather than trying to compete with CBDCs. And then I have one more article, and then I'm going to go over it. The CBDC section. Bank of Russia reveals digital rubles logo and commission fees, which is huge, because we had a lot of articles detailing the Russian CBDCs and their plans and everything. But from 2025, business-to-business transactions will cost $0.16 each, which is obviously very cheap, while individual customers will pay 0.3% of the total transaction sum when transferring to commercial accounts. The Russia CBDC project, developed by the Bank of Russia, has revealed its official logo. It's not the Monero one, unfortunately. That's ours. But it's interesting. Yeah, so this is really interesting, actually. This is the logo of the digital ruble. If you're on Twitter, you may want to hop on YouTube to see it, or you can go in the description and click on the link so you can see it yourself. But the central bank has also published commission fee rates, which would exceed 0 points only in 2025. What's interesting, until the end of 2024, all services will be free of charge. But starting from 2025, business-to-business transactions will cost 15 rubles, $0.16 each. And then what's also interesting is that, according to BOR, the regulator doesn't expect mass adoption of the digital ruble in Russia before 2025 or even 2027. And citizens will not be forced to use the CBDC, okay, so pay attention to this, as it will operate along with cash and non-cash rubles. BR Governor Elvira Nabiullina recently specified. Now, maybe it's going to be different in Russia, I'm not sure, but for sure for the digital euro, when they say that it's going to go along cash, no, it's going to go along cash when sufficient amount of people will be on the CBDC, and then everybody's going to be on the CBDC and cash will be eradicated. But they're going to make CBDC so good, and people are brainwashed that why would I use cash? Why would I use regular, what we have now on cards? Why would I not use CBDC? Because it's faster, it's cheaper, it's all this stuff. They're going to make it so much better that all the sheep are going to go on CBDCs, and then it's going to be like a natural progression to CBDC. And then boom, not a lot of people use cash. What they might say is that, oh well, only let's say 10% of the population is using cash, so we just eradicate it and we all use CBDCs and everybody's happy. And then in 6 months, boom, the real curtains get unveiled, and then yeah. So now let's discuss.
I'm honestly waiting for the World Economic Forum to endorse WorldCoin.
Yeah. Also, sorry, before you say anything, if you want to go to a specific article, I can go to it if you want.
Anybody got any comments on these? Red Rothbard.
Yeah, actually, after this, I'm going to my barber to get my hair cut, and he's got a wall full of paper shit coins from countries around the world, like the Ethiopian currency, bunch of worthless currencies, basically. And I'm going to give him a gold back to tape on the wall alongside him. But I think we just need to kind of focus on building relationships, and people are a bit skeptical when you bring up. What's that?
Oh, I just said, heck yeah, I love goldbacks.
Yeah, people are a bit skeptical when you bring up cryptocurrency because we're just awash in 25,000 shit coins. But goldbacks are a good conversation starter, and I think they're pretty, and they gain trust and curiosity, and you can use goldbacks as a conversation starter to also introduce them to Monero.
Mm-hmm.
If you just kind of cold sell some random coin, they're going to be kind of on guard. But if you show them that, I think they're very open to discussing like what's wrong with you can introduce them to the concepts of CBDCs and monetary inflation. And then once you kind of get that conversation rolling, you can say, there's also a digital fungible money out there. It's pretty much the only fungible digital money. And it's Monero. And you can avoid talking about darknet markets, but you can discuss the importance of avoiding non-fungible public ledger surveillance shitcoins like Bitcoin and Ethereum. But that's pretty much what I'm going to do right after this show is go to my barber and start that conversation with him. And if you have a local farmers market, you just give them a goldback. And if you can convince them to accept goldbacks weekly, you can eventually start getting them all on board with that and also be discussing Monero. But I think it's kind of wise to be hedged into a couple of different currencies because people are a little bit, skeptical of crypto in general for good reason. We're awash and anyone can start a cryptocurrency, but I think it builds trust. It's a good strategy. That's another adoption strategy I'm going to be testing out here locally. I think face-to-face, relationships are going to be important in the future, especially with AI and bots. We need to build high trust societies, even if they're nestled within big urban centers, as opposed to the low trust modern world we have. That's my take on it. That's one of the other strategies I'm implementing. So I would encourage everyone to go out, just talk to your local barber, whoever, these cash businesses, taco trucks, and maybe start a conversation with a goldback just so they want to talk to you.
Yeah, plus it's tangible, right? Like I mean, which I think you kind of alluded to. So you take a goldback out and you show it to somebody, they're like, oh wow, what is that? As opposed to trying to explain Monero, which is just digits on a screen. Very good points. It's a good conversation starter, and the waking people up to the fact that cash is being eliminated.
And I hope my audio is all right, but I just thought I'd throw it out there. I know I've said this before, but one of the best ways to battle the CBDC onslaught is to use normalcy bias against the powers that shouldn't be. You just point out that, especially if like the BRICS decides to back it with some kind of substantial whatever, whether it be just imaginary paper gold or whatever they're going to do, you just remind them that all throughout history a currency comes along promising to be redeemable in whatever, and then the power of the printing press always wins. It always draws them into the dark side. Now people like us tend to believe that was the plan all along. But when you can demonstrate the I guess you could say the printing cycle in the mind of the normie, that Monero's is going to be fixed and easy to predict, or when you hand somebody a gold back, it gives them the opportunity to recognize that nobody can take the gold out of their gold back. And it's actually a really easy thing to explain to somebody when you tell them, you know, the more dollars there are, the less they're worth. The more CBDCs there are, the less that they're worth. So when you're fighting that conversation, oh, it's inevitable, oh, it's never going to change, just remind them that all of the previous inevitable, never going to change fiat Fed notes or whatever the version of the world currency of the day, they're all in the dustbin of history, but the gold and the gold back is going to last forever. And that the blockchain that Monero sports is built with the long haul in mind. It has resolved a lot of these historical issues. It has a mechanism for its survival built right into the code.
Yeah, and you've had a guest on in the past who discussed those. I think the Romanian. They're like in the old Soviet Union. That maybe it was Romania, where they had local people who would exchange currency and sort of be like the local black market, gray market representatives. If you go to these farmers markets or barbers or taco trucks or whatever, establish these relationships, you can say, if you ever want to cash these out, I can be your local guy to, you know, cash you out into fiat, or I can exchange your gold backs for Monero or vice versa. So you can kind of establish that local, you can be that local, I don't want to use the word money changer, but essentially ATM, which actually I have a pretty interesting update for Havino, the Havino DEX, and a couple of other Monero relevant floss projects if we get to it.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, maybe we'll have Havino on here soon.
Well, they just did a beta release, which is really interesting for anyone who's interested. So
yeah, they presented at Monerotopia, and yeah, I think they just released, right?
Oh, did they really? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I also lobbied them to include gold and silver as an accepted local currency. So we've got local Monero that you can find local dealers to accept fiat, your local currency, for Monero, and meet up at a coffee shop or whatever. And
there's some guy up in Alaska who will switch gold backs and Monero and fiat. I mean, who knows? I've heard there's some guy out there that does that, if anybody is wondering.
Yeah. Well, I kind of lobbied the, I follow a lot of floss projects closely. I'm not technical, but I follow developments as closely as I can. I kind of lobbied to have them add gold and silver to Havino, and they did. Now I'm trying to get them to add gold backs, but I lobbied to have it happen, and then I donated Monero to the guy who added it for us. But that's going to be really great, because when local Monero, since it's kind of centralized, becomes endangered, we've got this DEX that also has this local option that you can show up, pay cash, gold, silver, gold backs, or check to cash in and out of Monero. So that's going to be huge.
Also,
definitely. Yeah, we'll get Havino on. I actually I was hanging out with them not too long ago. Some of the people behind the project. I see Dan. Dan, what's going on, man? Do you want to throw something out there with regards?
I love that you guys are talking about this paper currency, because check this shit out. You know what this is, right?
Those are the Tumans?
Those are Tumans, yeah.
And you can explain to people what those are. Not two mins, but two mins, right?
Tumin, Tumin. It is the indigenous word
associated with this at all.
Right, indigenous word for money in Mexico, South America. And around the time that Bitcoin started, this started in Mexico out of a university. So it is a local currency in Mexico, and they are not a friend of the Bank of Mexico. They have been sued by them. They used indigenous rights from the Mexican Constitution, which allowed them to win. So they are still going. And we built them a blockchain, which is a Zcash fork that uses RandomX. and it's not meant for, exchanges or any of that. It's just for them to transact. They currently have 1.3 million, probably a little bit more, in circulation of this paper, and it's in 6 different regions in Mexico. So you guys were talking about, different regions of taking Monero and things like that. And when I heard that, I'm like, yeah, shit, that's what they're doing in Mexico. So we don't get anything out of this, and it's not like something you can just go and get unless you want to be part of the economy. So, I'm it's really exciting to me to be part of it. To meet these people, I went down there and they're, everybody talks about being anarchists. These fucking people are actually anarchists.
Your mic just got really bad. We were hearing it before, but it just got bad.
Sorry. Yeah, a little bit of wind. Yeah, man. They're not pretend anarchists. They're living it.
They're living it.
Yeah, man. So I'm proud to be part of that and see where this goes. And yeah.
Cool, man.
Oh, by the way, you got this shit right here
Nice.
the other night at a Bitcoin meetup. You can buy it for Monero, Pirates, various other privacy coins, and cash at the Austin Bitcoin meetup.
Oh, get out of here!
Huh?
Wow. All right.
Yeah.
That's good. It's spreading. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
And it's damn good coffee. So.
Oh, awesome, man. Glad you like it. Always good to see you. Thanks for jumping on today. Let's please stay along for the ride, and we'll continue with these news stories because we got more. Tony, you want to keep moving?
Yeah, I was gonna say one more story. So I took an Uber yesterday, and then the guy worked with the Romanian military intelligence. And he just started to talk about CBDCs, and we talked about CBDCs for the entire ride. I didn't even mention CBDCs. And he was like in his 60s, so it was so pleasant to see that like older people as himself know and are aware of CBDCs. And he said that CBDCs, when they're gonna come, it's not gonna be a pleasant thing. So I wanted to mention that too.
Oh, that is interesting. Yeah, that's kind of what we're saying, right? Like WorldCoin, CBDCs, as bad as these things are, the silver lining is it's opening people's eyes.
For sure. Then we're going to talk about this real quick, but we talked about it before. Howard Chu off Twitter, Chicado Wallet off Twitter as well. You can still use Chicado Wallet, which is a business wallet, and you take control of your business payments in crypto, but they are not on Twitter anymore. I'm not sure why they got deplatformed. I mean, we have theories, but we don't know exactly why.
Breaking news, by the way. Howard did respond to us. He emailed us. He was. I've attached there. No, he was permabanned for violating Twitter rules. I don't think he's really sure exactly why.
They're never going to tell you like exactly what it was.
Yeah, he commented on some post and like they banned him, and now he's been working with them to try to get back on, but he's like, I give up. Total BS, but they rejected my appeal, so whatever, I'm done. Can find me on Mastodon anyway.
Wow.
I think you won't be seeing Howard on Twitter anytime soon, just because he doesn't want to deal with the BS, and why should he have to?
Someone told me he's also on Nostr, but I don't know if that's true.
I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if he is, but he's definitely on Mastodon.
What Nostr client do you guys use? If any of you are Nostr users.
I don't have any.
I'm not on.
I've experimented with it. I don't even know what client I was using.
Snort.social. That one's pretty friendly. And then there's another one that I was trying out. Iris.to. Those two, I think, are the nicest ones I've seen so far.
I think I might have used that one. Let's keep going, though. Tony,
yes.
keep moving along.
Yes. Quick mention. So now in Cake Wallet, you're going to have background sync, which is very cool. So basically, my phone is not on and your wallet is syncing. And I'm not sure how much battery that uses. I hope that it's not going to use a lot of battery. And if it doesn't, then that's a really good feature. Then on the new update from Cake Wallet, it now supports ETH and all ERC20 tokens, including USDT, USDC, and DAI. You can add custom ERC20 tokens, add custom Ethereum node, privacy setting to disable Ether scam API if desired, send to multiple recipients, restores are compatible with other popular Ethereum wallets. You can easily convert to and from other assets, including Monero, Bitcoin, and Litecoin. So it's huge. It's a really huge update. And they're going to
the background scan is something people have been asking for a long time, and my understanding is it's going to work on Android and on iOS as well. So that's big. Any comments there? Anybody want to throw out any comments with regards to that? Cake news?
Yeah, it's got a couple different modes. It's got an aggressive mode and then an unobtrusive mode, and I'm testing them both out right now to see like how the battery life will be on like a Graphene OS Pixel device. But it's super awesome being able to just open Cake Wallet and immediately it's synced. It's all done. It's ready to go. It's super cool.
This is one of the reasons why Get Graphene picked Monero.com wallet specifically, but a Cake Wallet function is because it's my firmly held belief that they really do walk that line between staying on the cutting edge of the latest and greatest of the technology, but being super user friendly, having an intuitive interface. They just bat it out of the park again, right? That's what they do over there.
Yeah, good stuff. And then they're adding these ERC, right? The ability to hold ETH, and I guess it's the first time you could hold the stable coin on Cake Wallet, right? There was really no other stable coin solution. So that's kind of big.
Monero, you can hold Monero, the stable coin.
That's right.
The stablest of all coins. All right, yeah, let's keep moving. Tony, go ahead.
Yes. So now for the next thing. So Agustin, he's 18 years old. He's from Argentina. And so the beautiful thing about Monero is that you don't need to know how it works in depth. He doesn't know about the mathematics of Monero or whether it has even a tail emission. He doesn't know that. But the only thing that he does know is how to use it. So in this video, he's using Monero. He's sending Monero. And the message is that XMR is simple to use and important. That's very important because like in Bitcoin, if you take someone that is not very technologically sound, you need to, and they want privacy, it's very complicated. But in Monero, if they have Monero, you just tell them how much you want to send, what address, send, and you're done. So, which is really important for electronic cash as well. And then we have talking about Libertad Cal. So there's a group of 50 kids that play soccer next to the train station, sometimes competing against kids from other neighborhoods. Andreas said they're all between 4 and 12 years old, usually playing against each other according to size. But here's what I've noticed, he said. The jersey is orange and black, very XMR. But only a couple of them had jerseys because it's been a couple of years since the last time they ordered some, and so they either use similar t-shirts or colored clothes to identify themselves. As the coach, and he told me with about 1.5 XMR, they could make jerseys for all of them. My guess is not every family can / agrees to pay for special jerseys. With probably around 1 XMR, we can already help families pay less for the jerseys and have Monero as a sponsor printer in them. And with 1.5 XMR, we could probably give them all for free. So
amazing. Yeah, to be clear, this is different than what we've seen going on in Argentina. The other kid that we had on the show, which Andreas was interpreting for.
Yes.
Andreas on his own now, where he lives in a different part of Argentina. He lives in, I believe, like near Buenos Aires. He saw these kids playing soccer, right? And now he's reaching out to help them to get them going with jerseys. Is that what's going on here?
Holy crap. And he said, okay, first update. I woke up to 10 donations for a total of 1.3 XMR.
Oh, wow.
We showed it to my son, who's now my official sidekick for this project, and his eyes were big as plates. I got to guide in 1 hour or so because they play on Saturday mornings and report back. Okay, live from the site. 3 hours ago, these are some of our players waiting for their turn. This group is around 10-year-old. Today they're playing against another soccer school. See the orange jerseys? Only 3 of them still have one from the old batch. So it looks like
wow.
Oh wow, fundraiser update. We're at 1.8 Monero. It's like hashtag oh my god.
And so
good luck keeping up with the
Monero themed jerseys, essentially.
I guess so. Yeah, I guess.
Awesome. Yeah, Andreas, if you want to jump up real quick and give us let us know what's going on there. I think I saw you in the comments.
I don't know if you noticed, but Uberblue's biggest problem with his news segment is trying to keep up with the generosity of Monero. Nobody can ever keep up with the story because by the time you're reporting on the story, the funding goals have been met and exceeded pretty much. Like just like the last Monero talk that we did a round of funding, it took no time at all for everything to be paid off in full.
It's always like that. It's funny. For example, I will report on something 1 week, and the next week, hey guys, just letting you know that it was fully funded in like in 1 day or something.
Yeah, it was literally like a day. Yeah, wasn't it?
Yeah, this is great. It's fun. It's
beautiful to see. Argentina is really becoming the hot zone, man.
Let's keep moving before we move on.
Yeah, of course, please do.
That's amazing. And one thing that might be an opportunity here is I've been very big on trying to get us to be thinking about adoption in Nigeria. If this football's popular all over the world, and I'm sure in Nigeria it is. And for those who don't know, Nigeria alone has 41% of all crypto in Africa. I've been networking and reaching out to people who speak Hausa and Yoruba, which are the two dominant languages there. And they're international trade languages with some of the top international trade languages in Africa. So for a while, I was trying to find someone who would translate the documentation for the Monero website. And I saw Cake Wallet jumped on translating when I suggested that they provide Hausa and Yoruba language support. But that could be franchised in Nigeria, and that same exact model might get a real explosive foothold. And that same betting platform, they took the initiative and have local merchants accepting Monero before any of us even knew it was happening. So this could be something to seed in Nigeria as well.
Amazing. And like you said, yeah, there's really nothing more global than soccer. I mean, it's so universal.
And this is one of those things, the soccer thing though, it's another example of Monero turning the general tyranny marketing thing on its head. You know, like, how do people get you to degenerate your entire family lineage? Well, it's a bunch of like alcohol advertisements and like mortgage refinance advertisements, and then all of a sudden people go to their kids' soccer practice and it's a bunch of like paid for with the generous donations of the XMR community.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Which is funny.
Yeah, I think Andreas wants to jump on real quick. I just sent him the link. We'll see if he pops on, and then you can bring him up.
Okay.
If anyone from the Libertad Soccer Football Club wants to reach out to me to get connected with the contacts I've established in Nigeria to help them get their betting platform going locally, please do.
That would be amazing.
And one more thing before he jumps on, because this is one more thing from him. So this is an image. There's a lot of people waiting in line, and essentially people doing lines outside a supermarket in Argentina to get their eyes scanned for either an illiquid coin that will go to zero or willingly entering his dystopian world identity future social scoring scheme. Is pretty sad, to be honest. He says. So if he hops on, that's cool, because then he can talk about this and also.
Wait, scroll down. Go back to that tweet he put out and scroll down for a sec to some of the. I had responded, we need to have Monero people out there, and then I saw somebody say like, "I'm on it." Wait, go down.
Is it in the replies or?
Yeah, maybe in the reply to that.
Oh, we're on it.
We're on it. So I don't know what that says in Spanish. Maybe Andreas can tell us, but it looks like somebody actually is trying to warn people about WorldCoin.
Cryptocurrency and blockchain.
Oh wow. Okay, so basically, it says nada de eso. None of the biometric identifications are necessary to use cryptocurrencies. Essentially, they're discussing WorldCoin, and they're telling people how for cryptocurrency you don't need to do all this stuff. Essentially, you don't need to scan your iris, you don't need to scan your face and all this stuff to use crypto. That's what it's basically saying.
That's great. I wonder if they're like actually somebody's going out there handing them out. That would be That'd be great.
Hopefully, I hope so.
All right. Here's Andreas. Maybe we could get him up real quick.
Hey, Andreas.
Hey, man, can you hear us?
Well, okay. Is it working?
Yeah.
Because I'm not in the actual studio, how you can tell. So I see everybody. I see everybody very tiny on my phone. Yeah, basically the whole soccer story. It's very hard for me to say soccer. I feel dirty. I should say football. But yeah, it's just like you already told. I bring my kid there since he's maybe even 4 years old or something like that. Like 6 years ago or something like that. Yeah, and the kids are always there. And the last jersey, I think, was like 3 years ago or something. They had a little sponsor from like a buildings company. Materials, a company that sells materials for buildings. So I approached the guy and I asked about the jerseys, and they say, yeah, but we're looking into it again this year. We are not sure, because here's a bit complicated things. So not every family can afford the jerseys. So I'm guessing that part of the whole thing is that not make him feel any kids like they didn't have a jersey, and some didn't, some do, and some didn't. So I said, well, let me see if I can make something happen. I make it shorter, and I said, yeah, with the company that I work for, something like that. But then I said, today I approached the guy again, and I said, well, actually, we are a group of people, and we are raising the money. So you will see. And it was just live because we did this yesterday. I was telling my kid that, you know what, maybe we could get the t-shirts, the shirts for the team. And he was like, what? No way. It's a lot of money. Yeah, because maybe if we ask for it, some people might find it worth it. So I showed him the donations wallets last night, and he was like, what? And how much is it? Okay. And how much is it in dollars? Okay. And how much is it in pesos? Okay. So here, I made him practice. I made him practice math at the same time, because I was giving him all the numbers and the exchange rate without giving him the answers. So I said, okay, they told me that the t-shirts were this much each, and you have like 50 kids. How much do you need? So he was doing homework. So he was like, but this is, I don't know, this is enough for like 34 t-shirts. And it's like, good, we have 20 more t-shirts to go. So there was whole thing, and I was super happy. Not only because the kids, it looks like they're going to get the jerseys, but also because it's a bit of a father and son thing that I wanted to show him that some things are possible, even if they seem like crazy. I know it's very stupid and a very little thing, but I can really tell how it changed his perspective on what is possible and what is not. If you communicate if you say it out, I mean.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is great. So the guy promised me just an update. It looks like we have enough at 1.8 XMR, unless the guy just ballparked me very, very bad. And he promised me on Wednesday to get the official like budget back from the jerseys makers, basically. So
beautiful.
I will have an update on there.
You'll have to show us a picture once the team is.
Yeah. Because it was really inspired by the whole Libertad club thing, because the jerseys are really orange and black. So it's like, what the fuck? This is a Monero theme, and just to be clear, it's not a very common combination here of jerseys, so to speak. It's not like a very common club color theme. So it was strange.
Not yet. It's becoming common.
Not yet. Yes.
Awesome, man. And that WorldCoin thing you put up, that's a picture that you took, that you saw? You were near where they were lining up?
No, it was posted by another guy, and he just, I don't know if he mentioned me or just saw it by chance. If you pull this out like in full screen, I can maybe try to read it. I see it very small here. So if you put it full screen, I can translate it live. But I think basically what it said, if I don't remember wrong, it said that cryptocurrencies ID are not needed for. It says, WorldCoin. There are some things that you may want to know. The technology of cryptocurrencies and blockchain can work perfectly without any kind of biometrics identification. In fact, that's how practically all the projects that already exist work. No iris scan, no facial recognition. None of that is necessary to use cryptocurrencies. If you're asked, it would say, the fact that you're asking that information to access an account or to receive cryptocurrencies is not only completely unnecessary, but also makes us wonder why they want that information in the first place.
Beautiful.
So I think it was very well put.
Yeah, really. That's impactful.
There's something really interesting about the guy who is responsible for so much of the AI acceleration, or at least on paper, he's supposedly responsible for it, using the fear of his own creation to spur people to try to then give up something they should actually be afraid of, which is giving their biometrics to some faceless corporate orb pondering scam or whatever. And then on top of that, I'm not even really sure why bots being involved in crypto transactions is such a bad thing. I mean, it's just like the next evolution of your typical API. You know, bots would be a much more reliable way to conduct lots of different transactions. And you would actually hope that people would be interested in using AI models to perpetuate the free flow of currencies. And yet that's exactly what he's trying to freak people out with. It's like, your identity could be stolen, blah, blah, blah. Meanwhile, they're literally engaged in stealing your identity at that very moment. And your biometrics on top of that with some like completely hackable. I'd made a joke earlier about like Tux and, you know, when the first orb comes out sneaking over with a USB and like taking everybody's biometric data, and like it would be so easy for somebody to compromise such a system, and yet they're using the compromising of the uncompromisable existing systems as some kind of fear campaign. And then meanwhile you've got Monero like giving jerseys to kids, so it's like the most opposite of a fear campaign ever. It's like, you know, this absolutely selfless, you know, getting kids out to exercise and making them feel included, and you know, like it's so polarizing. The whole thing is absolutely the most polarized thing ever. Faceless, nameless corporations pretending to protect you from the boogeyman versus a bunch of tiny little anonymous donations being used for the most charity case situation you could possibly imagine, getting kids outside.
It's like that guy who got busted who owned a windshield repair shop. He had he had billboards that advertised his windshield repair shop, and then he'd go out at midnight and smash windows underneath of it, windshields out.
Yeah.
No, you don't understand. See, that's productive economics in the modern economic theory. Is you have to smash enough windows to keep the slaves toiling away.
Yeah, but basically the whole WorldCoin thing is on one side is, yeah, the guy is just setting everything on fire and then selling you fire insurance for sure.
Yes.
Yes, on one side, yeah, but you could argue that you cannot control technology, and someone was going to invent that anyway. So on one side, I think it's good. But for me, at least from the South American perspective, I'm a bit worried that it may work because of the money incentive. But to be frank, I don't know how long they are going to be able to sustain that, no matter how much VC money they have, because they are giving out a lot of money. There is a lot of people, and it's very, very expensive to just create natural demand, like liquidity for a currency all of a sudden.
Well, I'd point out that this is a really good reason to do Monerotopia in Buenos Aires, because if people leave Buenos Aires and they have all of this money that they got, they're getting better margins on their products, and they were able to freely transact with foreigners. Because remember, a huge chunk of what happened was, well, at least from my understanding, I mean, Andreas probably knows more, but what is it, the rancheras, the landowners were trying to make it difficult to get foreign capital into Argentina, and they were trying to control exports by deflating the currency in order to get their farm products out into foreign markets. And I mean, not to turn this into a giant political rant or whatever, but all of a sudden you have this free exchange of foreign capital for locally produced products. It is an absolute death sentence to the political theory that has been used to game Argentina into this false poverty that they experience right now. But I mean, I'm sure Andreas has a lot more to talk about than I do on that. So,
no, me personally, I'm just waiting for our IRS, so to speak, to decide to clamp down on electronic transactions. Because what has been happening here for the past 5 or 6 years is that slowly and slowly, all the economy here, at least the little shops, are all cash-based, right? So you don't have any issue there with using cash. People already know that credit cards are bad, for example, or they don't want, or they have a lot of money that is earned in the black market, so to speak. Many like normal regular shops have a part of your salary in the white, so to speak, and another part that give you over the counter because the tax rates are very, very inconvenient and very high. So most people have like cash in hand and they want to use it. But for the past few years, I've seen more and more, even the little shops accepting QR code payments and all that because it's convenient, and it's not actually from the bank accounts, but it's for fintechs. Even some of them accept crypto. So the government, for the most part, just makes a blind eye to the whole thing because otherwise it will just collapse. But the moment that they decide to clamp down on electronic transaction as well, or you start to receive like letters or notices from the IRS, so to speak, that okay, we have seen that you're spending this much with your, I don't know, QR code payments and all that. I think that's the moment that Monero can really make a difference here. And people notice that okay, they're taking out our cash, and now we have no options to pay whatever. Then comes, yeah, you have an option that is just as simple, just as cheap, and just as convenient, and it's called Monero.
So what do you think about the idea, assuming that Doug is going to put it in Buenos Aires, about people bringing legal tender silver coins and gold backs down with them as an extra layer of liquidity for the locals, as maybe like a step, like a go-between?
I don't think. I think that the use of silver and gold is that extended here, unless you're talking very high
amounts.
Yes, people that is actually already rich, so to speak, because it's very cumbersome because the smaller amounts that it's useful to trade in gold is a lot of pesos. But
well, I mean, a gold back goes down to, it's about $2.80 for 1,000th. like a single gold
Yeah,
back. Yeah.
I think it's mostly a matter of education. What everybody will gladly take here from you are regular USB.
Oh, so if
USD,
I just bring a whole bunch of just fiat Fed note dollars, they'll take them just as it is.
cash.
Because last time I got absolutely raked over the coals when I switched over to pesos, and then nobody would sell me any Monero, so I switched back over to dollars. And I got absolutely wrecked on the. I mean, I must have lost over $1,000 on like just a bunch of money that I didn't even end up using. Like, it's,
No.
I don't know if Doug remembers, but I probably spent more on transaction fees trying to go between all of the fiat than I did on my plane ticket. Actually, I got paid to fly down there, but that's a whole nother thing.
No, just as a PSA for everybody coming here, you can either do both, but traditionally, if you come with paper USD, not even euros, like paper dollars, best. If you do so, remember that this is not the US, and you have to bring the nice new bills, not the old ones. They are not worth the same. If you bring like $100 bill, that is here they are called face, which I find illegal. The portrait is bigger.
Breaking up a little bit.
Can you hear me here?
Yeah, that's interesting though. So even that just shows you even the US dollar is lacking in fungibility.
Dollars are not fungible here. No.
Gresham's law with paper notes.
Why is that the case?
All dollars are like maybe 5% less valuable here, because the thing is that the black people that buy dollars in the black market for savings only want the new shiny dollars, so they pay less for them. So when you want to sell those,
interesting.
Yeah. So bring that or crypto. If you're buying crypto here, you have a lot of places that you can just trade it for pesos at a very nice
That's
rate.
got to be like a crypto haven in a way compared to like most countries. If you're trying to just use cryptocurrency, right?
Yeah, it's naturally being used down there. For sure.
It's not so usual to spend in crypto, but it's very usual to earn in crypto from abroad. That is super common if you work for something that you can work remotely, and just to trade for savings and stuff like that. People that just buying a bunch of crypto every month to save away from the peso.
Yeah, what Reed Rothbard / Drunk Dial Me was saying about like the food nodes, basically like the places to pick up food. Well, we do that out here. It's pretty much how most people get their groceries. And it became such a problem where our meat vendors, for example, would take Monero, but then I would try to sell the meat in Monero and people would only give me their fiat. And then I had to because they're just like, well, I don't want to get rid of my Monero. And they were asking these outrageous prices for the Monero. And I'm like, well, I mean, I have to add to the liquidity somehow. And it was like people who otherwise get along great would start fighting over using fiat instead of Monero, because they're like, well, why should I have to get rid of my Monero? Like the vendors get all the Monero. And that's literally how it's become out here. And now I'm starting to fall into it too, because it's such a pain in the ass for me to be like the only local Monero guy. In fact, I don't even use the website because just everybody knows that's what I do. So I don't even have to use the website because I get the Monero and people are just like, oh, let me get some. And it's nobody wants the fiat anymore up here because they know that they can save and use the Monero or the gold backs, and they're just not even interested. And so everything they try to buy with fiat, and then everything they try to sell with Monero.
Yeah, just like that.
Tony, how much more news we got? Let's keep rocking and rolling. Did we lose Tony?
Oh, Tony. Oh, there he is.
You're back. No, we're done.
We're done. Okay,
Yeah.
sweet. Well, this is great, guys. Thanks everybody for jumping on. I like this when everybody gets to participate in the news as well.
Can I
Yeah,
throw
go
one
ahead.
last thing in?
Of course.
I just wanted to throw a shout out for a Floss project that might be of interest to a lot of people who use Monero. It's called Cell 411. It's going to eventually be rebranded as the Cop Block app, if anyone remembers Cop Block or Cell 411. It's essentially a security app that allows you to send out an alert to your homies or people in your community that and live stream videos that, hey, I'm being followed home, or this or that's happening. So I think that's going to people are already white labeling it in places like South Africa. But there's this concept called anarcho-tyranny, where the government still steals your taxes, but they don't provide security services like police. So it's a way to organize. So it might be of real interest to people in countries that don't have very good security, because you can basically marshal your friends to your aid, or help in emergencies like, oh, I'm broke down on the side of the road. So that might come into real importance in some places, and it's they're basically open sourcing this old app and making it peer to peer. So it might be of real interest to people who know about freedom cells, if you're familiar with that concept, which I suspect might be a honeypot because they use Telegram for some reason. But it's a real great project that people might want to look into.
They use Telegram on freedom cells because of it's easier for like onboarding normies, but the very same people, they do actually strongly recommend the more like actually liberty focused alternatives. And actually that was part of what I talked when Derek Bros was at Monerotopia. I had brought that up too. I was like, hey, if you're trying to, and he totally checked me on my my elitism. He's like, look, dude, if you're gonna get people into this stuff, you can't just dump on them. You can't just like, okay, well, everybody needs to be using Session and Molly, because most people are still in like the world of text messaging or whatever. Or another good example is Doug and Sunita.
We have a banner right now saying join our Telegram group. I mean, it depends what you're using it for. Obviously, you got to use it with the understanding that it's basically everything's public, right?
Yeah, and we have to be really careful. I mean, especially Tux with his like 5-tier firewall, everything routes through free BSD and then tails and then jumps through 12 different Tor network nodes or whatever. It's really easy for people who are that level of security conscious to forget that it's a long journey for a lot of people to migrate from Tyranny Incorporated to little steps towards freedom go a long way. So we should be very careful about judging those who, and believe me when I say, like, I mean, I hate Telegram. I don't use Facebook or anything like that. I got on Twitter just to be able to be contacted after the Monero talk that we did. But we have to remember also that people do need a way to go from 0 to 60, right? You have to go 5 miles an hour before you can go 10, and then you have to go, to 10 before you can go to 15. But be there, ready to welcome them in with open arms when they find out about the next step. It's so important that we don't become our own worst enemy. It's one of the reasons why when I'm just out in normie land, I never ever talk bad about Bitcoin. Even though I haven't used Bitcoin since 2014, I never talk bad about Bitcoin because it's still an upgrade from Fed notes. It's still, we have to be welcoming. And, the message that I got from Monerotopia when the Xano guys got up or whatever, I was joking about Doug being like the therapist for, healing the community, because he really has closed that gap. There's a lot of people who, if they're not welcomed then they'll become more the feds will never have to do a damn thing if we kill off our own allies. Keep your artillery pointed down range, is what they tell you in the army. Like you just, if your battle buddy is slacking, well, he still is a rifle pointed in the right direction. So focus on firing at the enemy at all times.
The Phoenix ammunition guy is a perfect example of that. Someone getting turned off, even though he's a natural ally.
So true. I ran into the same problem trying to make an Alaska-based ammunition manufacturing company up here, so we didn't have to import so much ammunition. One of the first things that people did was like, "Oh well, we need a new kind of cartridge," and it's like, can't we just make the stuff that people already use? And it just turns into like everybody being so ruthlessly independent that they don't collaborate, and that's why, honest to God, I was so grateful that Doug ended up being the face of Monerotopia, because a lot of us are just way too aggressive. A lot of us are just way too obsessed all the time with the bleeding edge technology, or that vulnerability that in 12 years might eventually become a problem. And it's like, well, Monero works right now, so let's just use it. Is the most important. And all of these people were talking about like, Monero doesn't have zero knowledge proofs yesterday, it's a shit coin. And it's like, well, it hasn't been hacked, right? It's still working, right? Like, how about you just stop with the FUD and start, where's your business that takes Monero? Where's it? Like, that's the problem that we have to be very careful not to fall into.
Don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good. And we win by bringing more people into this ecosystem, getting more people to opt out. So, I see it as a funnel, right? So, they start up here and they eventually funnel their way down into pure Moneroism. But we gotta have open arms and ways for the noobs to enter this ecosystem for sure. Alaska Anon, amazing as always. Thank you for all the comments and the wisdom. Tony, man, thanks for the news.
One more thing
go ahead, Tony.
That we are indeed lucky to have you. And then I remember when we were in Miami. So this guy, like, people would ask him, "Hey, you want to purchase this like on the streets? You want to purchase this?" And he would say, "Oh, sorry, man, I only have Monero." Monero, what is Monero? And then he would hook the people on Monero. And then I think one time he got a haircut and he tried to hook up the barber to Monero. So like, Doug is living Monero for sure. It's not just like most people, it's just for the show or something. But if you ever get a chance to meet Doug and Smith in real life, first of all, they're amazing people. Second of all, they breathe Monero. Like, this guy had a Monero t-shirt in
Dude, just go to Monerotopia, just attend the conference.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you, Tony. Appreciate that. Yeah, it's all for the love of the game, man. It's the best way to spread liberty.
Thank you, Doug.
Thank you so much, guys. Thanks everybody for joining today. Thank you, Bawdy. Tux, thank you, man, for holding this down. Drunk Dial Me, amazing special guest. You're always, as you know, you're always welcome on this show. Jump up anytime. We greatly appreciate your insights and all the work you're doing, man, to help build out the Monero parallel economy. Please keep jumping on here, giving us updates on what's going on and what you think we can do to help spread the word. Because I know you really have your ear to the ground with different projects that are out there. Please jump up anytime so we can help spread the word.
Thanks, guys.
All right, guys. Great show. We'll be back next week, same time, 11 a.m. Eastern every Saturday. Cheers. Adios.
Have a good one, guys.
Thank you for joining us on this week's Monerotopia episode. We stream live shows every Saturday at 11 a.m. Eastern. You can find and subscribe to our show on YouTube and Odyssey, or listen to the podcast on iTunes, Spotify, or Stitcher. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter or join us in the Monerotopia Telegram group.